Hey, yo, what's happening? What's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another live stream vid. As you guys know, I really don't do much of these live streams anymore. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I've said numerous of times that I would try to be more consistent on coming on online as I used to. But given the fact that I have much of a heavy workload now, I have other obligations that are more important. Um, so, with that said, my activities online through the YouTube, on the YTBC is going to be very, very, very limited, which you guys should know already. They have been. I'm gonna just that I'm going to come on here and sporadically and give my input. And if I go on other channels to give my input whenever I have time to do so, I will do that. But I would thought I have since I have enough free time today, I decided I'm going to come on here for maybe an hour or two just to talk about lots of things that's going on in the realm of boxing, and just wanted to give my insights and opinion about it. So, well, insights and opinion can almost correlate with each other, but you get my drift, but also bring up facts as well. So, first things first, let's talk about the fights. Review the fights that went on over the weekend. Uh, Nothing too major that went down, with the exception of a couple of fights. For example, we had the PBC card that was headlined with Brandon Figueroa versus Mark Maceo for the WBC. I think it was for the interim 126-pound title, I believe, or it was a vacant title. I think it was a no. Ray Vargas is still the champion there, unless he got stripped. I don't know. Somebody can fill me in on that. But Brandon Figueroa versus Mark Maceo was the headlining card on for the PBC on Showtime. And then Jarrett Hurd was fighting on that undercard, which I'll get into momentarily. Then on the other hand, on the cross of the pond, as you want to call it, we had Lee Ritson versus O'Hara Davies. And what's criminal about that situation is that fight was not picked up by a major network in the United Kingdom. Instead, it was relegated to Fight TV. So I'm not sure if it was a pay per view, but whenever a fight or a event's been relegated to Fight TV, there is a cost, so it had to be pay per view to watch that event. So I'll be upfront with you. I didn't watch the entire fight. I did watch a couple highlights, so I'll definitely get into that shortly. But I'm also going to get into the Anthony Joshua Jermaine Franklin ticket sales as of now, which nobody's really talked about except for a few uploaders. I'll get into that momentarily as well. Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk fight looks like that undisputed fight hit a snag from what I'm sitting so far. Hopefully, I'm wrong about that. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 2. That fight is off. The Conor Ben fiasco, and last but not least, I'll probably save the best for last. Well, actually, two things. The PBC financial crisis. I know I covered that briefly in one of my previous streams, but I will definitely delve into that a little bit further. And also the potential Deontay Wilder and Andrew Ruiz fight could be back on. And I'll give my take on why I think that's going to be back on. So anyhow, let's talk about the PBC card real quickly. First things first, on that card, we had Jarrett Hurd versus I forgot the opponent's name, but anyways, you could say it was like, he was on the undercard of Figueroa versus Maceo. And I have to say, Jarrett Hurd looks like he got stopped, by the way, the first time he's ever been stopped in his career. So all I gotta say is that it was coming, given the fact that Jarrett Hurd was known to be a human punching bag at light middleweight, and definitely at middleweight where he's facing bigger and stronger punchers. So it was time, when he was taking some hellacious shots against the likes of Lundy Lara, big shots against Alston Trout, even though Trout is not known to be a big puncher, but Trout was hitting him some pretty big shots. Tony Harrison was hitting him some big shots, and before eventually he stopped them both because obviously they were gassed out and they were, fatigued trying to load up on him. But then, when he eventually, went up against Landy Lara, I think that was probably the end, the beginning of the end for Jarrett Hurd, because that Lara fight, he took some big shots, and Lara's known to be a big puncher. Not saying big puncher, but he's known to crack. when he really places shots together and he sits down his punches, he can hit very hard. So, and then after that, yes, good wins, by the way, for Hurd. But after that, that's when he hit a snag. When he hit his limitations when he fought J. Rock Williams. And J. Rock was the one that took the title off of him, hurt him multiple times, even put him down in that fight, put him on his back foot for the most part. And yeah, and Jarrett Hurd seemed to have not recovered from that, you know. Even Jason Wilborn in one of his title defenses was hitting him with some pretty big shots and was pressuring Hurd. And then so at the end of the day, we knew his limitations. You know, great durability at the time, great chin, pretty big for light middleweight, by the way, very big. You know, I was wondering how the hell he makes that weight because out of the ring, out of competition, he walks around close to 200 pounds. So it makes me wonder how the hell he was able to shed so much weight. But at the end of the day, I guess the whole weight shedding, even at middleweight, he looks very big. And it just seems like taking all that damage, looking lethargic, looking slower than ever, it's really caught up with him. You know, he's had a setback against Luis Aries, and now he's had a setback against his recent opponent being stopped this time around because he suffered a horrific cuff above his eye. He was taking so much punishment, and the ring doctor says, you know what, you can't go on anymore. So that's that. Where does he go from here? I don't know, man. All I can say is that I'm not saying he should hang it up, but it's going to be a very, very, very difficult road for him to come back from this stoppage loss. And it may be a point of his career now that he probably is going to be, he's in a position where he may never be world champion again, to where he'll be brought in for guys to look good against, especially guys, prospects who are trying to improve or trying to get better or trying, pretty much trying to get some experience underneath their belt. So I think he'll be brought in as a high-level journeyman at this point of his career from the looks of it. So, yeah, I like Jarrett Hurd. I admire his previous work, but it looks like this is the end of the road for him as far as being a top-level contender is concerned. So he'll definitely be classified as a high-level journeyman, in my opinion. So, yeah, and that's that. Speaking of Brandon Figueroa and Mike Macedo, interesting fight. Figueroa definitely applied relentless pressure on Macedo, something he's not really accustomed to. I know Macedo had, felt the pressure early on, the fact that he was holding on a little too much to my liking. The referee more cautioned him, and then he eventually took a point off of him for holding in the 7th round. And I think in the 11th or 10th round, he took another point off Macedo for holding again. So he definitely was outmatched, and against Figueroa. And, that was that. Figueroa was definitely the clear winner. No arguments here. Where does Figueroa go from here at 126? I mean, Ray Vargas is still there. I believe he's coming back down to 126, so he's still there. Hopefully they can make that fight now that Figueroa is the interim champion. Or he's a full champion. I don't know. Did Ray Vargas get stripped? Please help me out in the comment section. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I definitely like that matchup, Ray Vargas versus Brandon Figueroa. That's definitely going to be a slugfest. So, we'll wait and see on that. Moving on here to Hurd Davis and Louis Ritson. As I mentioned earlier, the fight was not picked up by a major network in the UK. Sky didn't pick it up. BT didn't pick it up, which is now going to be dubbed as TNT Sports in the UK pretty soon, due to the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. And DAZN definitely didn't pick it up because we all know Hurd's got beef with Eddie Hearn there, so that's no surprise. And not even Channel 5, which is through the Wasserman, they didn't even pick up the fight. So given the fact that none of the major networks did not pick up this particular fight, because this was the WBA final title eliminator for the 140-pound WBA title. And the winner of this fight was going to be the mandatory challenger for that title against a champion and whatnot. And unfortunately, the fight got relegated to Fight TV. So as I mentioned, that probably was a pay-per-view event. Anyhow, I didn't really catch the fight. I did catch some highlights here and there, but I did catch the stoppage by Hurd Davis on Louis Ritson. I think it was in the 9th round when he hit him with the left hook to the body. And Louis Ritson went down and he crumbled and he didn't get up. And Hurd won, is the winner. And I think many people didn't pick him to win the fight. I believe, according to the bookies, Davies was the underdog in this fight. So definitely a good rebound stoppage win for Hurd Davies. He's really rejuvenated his career. Um, and he's definitely in line for 140 pound a shot at the champion at 140 pounds. I forgot the guy's name, but other than that, he kind of went off at the end too. So, but at the end of the day, I think Harris deserved it. He had to really work his way back up after his setback, his losses against Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, respectively. But looking at the Catterall fight again, man, that was a dreadful fight, and you couldn't really argue who really lost, but I think O'Hara lost because at the end of the day, he really didn't do much. I mean, neither did Catterall, other than he looked okay in a couple rounds here and there. I guess that's what persuaded the judges. But O'Hara felt that he was really hard done to in the decision. But you could see why he didn't get the win, because at the end of the day, Catterall was the marquee fighter going into that fight. And O'Hara was just on a fight-by-fight basis with Queensberry. So now he's with I think he's still with Pro Bellum. So the way Pro Bellum, since they don't have a TV deal, they're kind of shopping around their fighters to other networks, just like what PBC is doing right now, which I'll get into later, or they're attempting to do right now, which I'll get into later. So yeah, O'Hara have to really work hard to bounce back from those losses, and here he is he's in line to get a title shot right now. So we'll have to wait and see, man. I'm proud for him, but don't stop there, O'Hara. Don't stop. You still got to keep going, man. You see if you can win that 140-pound title. If he can win it, then he is a definition of a good comeback story where a guy had to really crawl back from the dirt after those losses to Taylor and Catterall, and then that really work hard and grind. Even he's hit snags with certain promoters, he had to really grind himself to get back into the position he's in right now. So I'm very happy for the guy. Really happy for him. So we'll see where he goes from here. I see a couple comments here. Myself says that speaking of Austin Trout, he recently won the bare knuckle championship. Yeah, I heard he's over there at BKFC right now. So yeah, that's usually where fighters go, especially boxers who are really at the tail end of their careers, and they really don't know. They've exhausted all their opportunities. So yeah, at that point, Austin Trout realizes that he's not really going to get opportunities in boxing anymore. So yeah, he had to get over to bare knuckle, and obviously that's a far more dangerous sport because guys are not wearing gloves; they're wearing hand wraps, and that's more damaging than wearing protective gloves. So yeah, I mean he's over there now. He's a champion, and with BF, at the BKFC. So yeah, I mean he's got to do what he's got to do to make money. Props to him. Ralph Unreal says, damn, I was rooting for Hurd, but he got too many flaws. Yeah, like I said, man, he's just a human punching bag. He has no defense. He's slow. And I like Jarrett Hurd, but it's just like he's got technique. But, you can't really rely on that chin forever, especially if you're cutting so much weight. Because at the end of the day, especially in the case of Jarrett Hurd, the guy rehydrates out of ring competition. He's weighing close to 200 pounds, if not a little bit more than that. He's almost essentially the same weight as I am when he's not fighting. And for him to shut up all that weight, that does take a toll, not only on your conditioning as far as your endurance is concerned, but it also takes a toll on your punch resistance. So it got to the point that when Jarrett Hurd was fighting guys at 154, you realize then those guys couldn't really hurt him. They couldn't put a crack in him. But when he was going up to 160, then we realized that the beginning was the end after that Lara fight. And going back to 154, he did lose his titles at 154 to J-Rock Williams. But at the end of the day, it was going to be at some point, sometime, that he can't continue to take punches like that forever. That's the same thing I say about Joe Joyce. But I guess some people would argue, well, the heavyweights is a little different because at the end of the day, they're not shedding weight. They always continue to fight at the same weight gradually over time. Yes, they become a little slower after taking so much damage, but their punch resistance seems to still be there for most heavyweights. So, a la George Foreman. So, I guess I can use, Joe Joyce as a good argument because at the end of the day, I wonder how long can he continue to take punches like that against heavy-handed guys, especially you going up against guys like Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury eventually. Who else is there? Anthony Joshua. Guys like that. So it's like Phil Herkovich, Julie Zhang, who he's going to go up next. That's who Joe Joyce is fighting next, who can hit very hard. Southpaw, a giant, heavyweight, Chinese heavyweight. So Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. These guys who rely on their chin to get into fights. Gennady Golovkin, you can see why he didn't move up a weight, because he realized if he can't really rely on his chin when he's fighting guys who are way bigger than him, especially at super middleweight, light heavyweight, he can't rely on that. So that's why he stayed at 160 pounds for so many years. That's one of the reasons I say. So yeah. All of the Mighty, shout out to all of the Mighty in chat. He says those fights yesterday were pretty good. I bet the underdog in the Hurd fight to win by decision, but I was shocked they stopped that at the end of the night. Hurd's lip must have really messed up. Yeah, I mean the cut must have been too deep to the point that it was going to deter some of his breathing. I guess I don't know. I mean, or it could have caused an infection if the fight continued on, especially if it was exposed like that. So I guess the ring doctor made the right decision to stop the fight. I mean, honestly, I have no complaints because I thought he was down on my card because the way that fight was going, it didn't look like he was going to win the fight. But it is what it is, man. So again, I think Jarrett Hurd at this point in his career, this is his third loss, by the way, and this is his first, via stoppage. So to me, I think he's going to be relegated to be a high-level journeyman for these up-and-coming middleweights, or even light middleweight if he can make that weight, which I doubt. So yeah, that's the way I see it. Dwayne, what's up, Dwayne? Long time no hear. He says that never trust a fighter who gets touched too often. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just that at a point of their careers, they can't rely on their durability and their chin forever. Not durability, but their chin for so long. You can't really do that because at the end of the day, that shield is going to crack and you won't be able to absorb punches like you used to. So, yeah, I just think that's that's been very detrimental for Jarrett Hurd for quite some time now. And I said the same thing about Gennady Golovkin. Again, I have to repeat, I can see I believe this is one of the reasons why Golovkin never moved up in weight. Not the fact that he's slow as hell, slow as molasses, but he realizes that, dude, if I go up in weight and fight these bigger punchers, my chin may not hold up against these guys. So, yeah. Fighting light heavyweights like Adonis Stevenson, Sergey Kovalev. I know the spar rumors and the stories about him knocking down Kovalev and sparring with a body shot. I get all that, but Arthur Beterbiev. I mean, oh come on, man! You really Golovkin's chin is going to hold up against a hard puncher like Beterbiev? Nah, man, nah. I don't care what Golovkin fan says about that. I just don't think Golovkin's chin and durability would hold up against a Beterbiev. Maybe for a few 6-7 rounds, but after that, he'll deteriorate and get stopped. So, yeah. But anyhow, yeah, good point there, Dwayne. Good point. So, yeah, just moving along. Let's talk about Anthony Joshua. I did mention him momentarily. This hasn't really been talked about. It's something I want to touch upon because a lot of Anthony Joshua diehards like to cling on this, I say not narrative, but it is truth to some degree that Anthony Joshua, whoever he fights, he'll sell no matter what. Yes, that's only if he's still a hot commodity. What do I mean by that? That's if he's continuing to winning, if he's continuing to win, he's still a champion. That's when he can still sell out. But when you continue to take strings of losses, and given the fact that you've had a mental breakdown in your previous fight, that will take a hit on your popularity and your draw power. And there's been ramblings that the Anthony Joshua and the Jermaine Franklin fight is doing terribly at the gate right now, as far as ticket sales is concerned. Now, undoubtedly, the fight's going to fill up. That's if that's when when it's getting closer to the fight, which is probably another week or two. I mean, the fight is scheduled for April 1st, but I would assume probably next week or the following week after next. You're probably going to see the tickets prices drop on access.com. So and you want to wonder what's the explanation for why these ticket sales are poor. And again, it just goes to the fact that Joshua's popularity and his draw powers took a major hit after the losses to Alexander Usyk. He's not the champion anymore. He's not in the run for the for the undisputed championship. He's still a contender, yes. He's got a long ways to go before we could say he's been relegated to like a high-level journeyman status. I don't think Anthony Joshua would ever get to that point. He'll pretty much stop when he realizes that he can't fight anymore because he's made so much money. It's ridiculous. But the fact is that when you have a guy who's not on top and at this point of his career, people are not going to watch him. And that goes back to the fact that when it comes to boxing, yes, diehard fans are still going to be there, but the casuals are the reason why boxing thrives for so many centuries and so many decades, in so many years. Because casuals are the main ones that bring in the revenue more so than the hardcores. That's the ugly truth, but that is the fact. We need those casuals. And what they see is that if they don't see a guy who's not winning, they're not why they're going to waste their hard-earned dollars to watch him fight. So, and he's fighting a guy that, yes, he had a good showing against Dillian Whyte. Arguably, he won that fight, which in my view, he won. But it was a close fight. You could argue Dillian won it, but at the end of the day, he's still somewhat relatively unknown. And the fact that Anthony Joshua is dealing with some mental challenges right now after that Usyk loss, why would they want to pay their money to go watch him fight? Especially a guy that's not known. And in fact, and also that Joshua's not the champion at this point. And he's got losses on his record. So, and also I wanted to show you too, which is kind of interesting because I looked on Access.com just to get a good idea how many tickets are left to be sold, right? And also, I forgot to mention too, part of the reason why these tickets haven't sold out is because you can't resell the tickets anymore. Not anymore, but I think there's a cutoff where how much can be resold. As you guys should remember, when Todd Joshua will sell out in 24 or 40 hours, mainly the reason why those tickets will sell out because a lot of ticket scalpers will buy up the tickets and then they'll resell it on the secondary market at a very ridiculous and overinflated price, overvalue the price of those tickets, like quadruple the value or sometimes 5 times or 6 times the value that they were initially went out for. So pretty much the UK government's clamped down on that. And I think pretty soon the United States government is going to clamp down on that as well, given the fiasco that happened with the Taylor Swift situation. So that's part of the reason why his tickets haven't sold out. But at the end of the day, despite the fact that it didn't sell out in a matter of minutes, you would think that, okay, it's Anthony Joshua, it will sell out within a week or two. But yeah, here we are. The tickets went on sale about 3 weeks ago? And here we are, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, I believe. And here we are in the second week of March, which is about 5 weeks now, and the tickets are yet to be sold out. So you wonder what's going on here. I'm going to bring this up real quickly because this is very interesting when I went over onto Axios, and I want to show you something. And I think this is kind of a very unique situation. Very unique situation with these tickets. All right, I'm going to bring it up right now. Not StubHub, I'm going to Axis. I'm going to look at StubHub too, see if they actually show it as well. Let's see. Where's Axis? Where's Axis? All right, hold on. Give me a minute, guys. Here we go. Yeah, what up to Tony Reviews, man? I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support. Appreciate the support, man. So yeah, let's look at the ticket window right now on Access.com for Joshua versus Franklin. Coincidentally, I say it's coincidentally, this is on April Fool's Day. The fight, that is. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to show you guys something. Give me a minute here. All right, cool. All right, so here we are. When you go into Access.com to shop for tickets, right? Now you see the main, well, this is not the main page, but before the page, the previous page, let me go back to that so that way we're all following along here. So as you can see right here, this is the main page, right? For Joshua versus Franklin. You can see here, you can get regular tickets, you can get premium seats, you can go through American Express and get some, fast-tracked into all exclusive food and drinks for the pre-show, for the event or to the preliminaries, I should say. So that's cool. You got your options there. And then, of course, down here, you have your premium seats, accessible tickets for the handicap, suites tickets. Obviously, those are also definitely, those are delicate seats, as you want to call it. Very comforting. It's like living in, you don't like watching the event from your living room. If you ever been to a suite at an event in an arena. So just to give you an idea. So anyways, let's go to get your tickets, right? Let's just go to the regular seating. So as you can see right here, tickets will not be resold for the event. As I mentioned earlier, there has been a crackdown on the on ticket scalpers for the events in the UK, particularly for the Anthony Joshua events. And as I mentioned, that may be some crackdown on that in the United States too, given the fact of the Ticketmaster situation with Taylor Swift. So anyhow, I go further, right? It says here, hold on a second. Oh, there it is. I want to show you this because when I tried to do this last time, there wasn't a map at all. There was no map. This map was not here. But actually, you know what? I can't even click on the map. It can't even see. Basically, if you go on other sites, right, it won't even tell you. Most sites will tell you how many tickets are left if you hover down and you hover down, you click on one of the sections. But even on this map, you can't even click on it. So basically, let's say if I click here, right? So you want floor seat A, right? Where exactly is that? I'm trying to figure out where that section is at. Is it this one? Let me go back. Or is it this one? I can't really tell. So I would assume based off the high pricing, it would be over here because it's 436 pounds, right? I believe this is the highest seating, so it should be over here, right? Common sense. But at the end of the day, we would like to know as fans how many tickets are left in these sections. And apparently you can't find out. And I wonder why. I wonder it has anything to do with Eddie Hearn instructing access, or I'm gonna go over to Vivid Seats. I'm gonna find out if there's something there where I can hover over and see how many tickets left to be sold there. And I'm gonna go to 202 as well. I'm gonna see that as well because over here in access you can't even find out. So this is I don't know, man. Is it really a situation where Eddie Hearn doesn't want people to know how many tickets are left to be sold? Because to me, this is an indication that they probably haven't sold as much as they wanted to, especially this close to the fight night, that he doesn't want people to blast him over the ticket sale situation. I think it's going to come up eventually, but at the end of the day, it's been almost 5 weeks now, and the event has yet to be sold out. Yeah, shout out to Boxing Learner. Hey, shout out to you guys. The event has yet to be sold out. And I find it very surprising that you can't even hover over how many tickets are left in per section like we normally can do. It's amazing. So if I had to take a wild guess, I would say there's roughly about maybe 12,000 more tickets left to be sold. Maybe they sold about 7,000 of them already. I could be wrong. I'm just taking a guess. If they sold at least 7,000 and they have another 12,000 to go and the fight, we're about 3 weeks into fight night, then that's not good. And at the end of the day, I didn't expect Joshua to sell out right away, given the fact that he's at the low point of his career. But at least you would give him some form of respect that he's still a commodity. He's still a player in the heavyweight division. Has his popularity in his mainstream appeal has really declined that badly? I don't know. Maybe the meltdown is what did him in after the Usyk loss. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But anyways, let's just get out of Axis real quickly. I'm gonna go over to the other sites. If I can go back. Hold on. Let me try this again. All right, so we got Vivid Seats and we're going to StubHub. Okay, let's go to let's go to O2 to see if they have a map. I mean, a map where I can hover over and click on the sections. Okay, I'm gonna go to buy tickets. Oh, so it's gonna all go. So basically, everything goes over to Axios. All right, so yeah, I thought I wanted to show you guys because that is something I don't recall ever seeing before, where you can't hover over to the section and see exactly how many tickets are left in that section. So from my assumption, it seems to me that it would have mattered anyway because there's plenty of there's like 12, probably well over 10,000 tickets left to be sold. and expect half of those to be comped just to fill up the seats. Because at the end of the day, yeah, this is, yeah. Look, I do expect the arena to be, have a pretty decent sized crowd, but it may not sell out. It doesn't look like it's on track to selling out unless they're going to comp a lot of tickets. I mean, I don't know. I mean, seriously, maybe Eddie Hearn's probably going to gamble on that just to continue to push the narrative that Joshua is still a main event draw. I mean, he's still a mainstream draw. I should say he's a main, whatever. I mean, maybe that's what he's going to do. He's going to probably comp all the rest of the tickets that's left over just to fill up the seats. Maybe. But, I mean, if that's what he's going to do, but 12,000 tickets, 10, 12,000 tickets, that's way too many tickets to comp. Maybe 5,000 I get, but 10, 12,000, I have to assume that's where it's at right now, left to be sold. I have to assume, unless someone could come out and pretty much debunk what I'm assuming. So, and I hope I'm wrong, but at the end of the day, it doesn't look like it's good right now. So, yeah, and it's kind of jarring to say the least that many of the Joshua pro Joshua channels are not even touching on this. So it is, it's not surprising. It's not surprising. And speaking of that, I want to talk about Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. And before I get into that, I want to talk about the Deontay Wilder and the Tyson Fury counter over in Saudi. As you guys know, over the past 2 weekends, the weekend before this one, the Tommy Fury and Jake Paul event did over 775,000 pay-per-view buys, has been reported. I mean, that's a very high number for two novices to draw like that. I mean, I am shocked it did that many numbers because I thought it would probably do around 300,000, at least that. But even if 300,000, that's still high for two novices to draw like that. But it did over 775,000 buys. And if I'm a fighter, I'm looking at that, I'm like, what in the world did all these guys, a bunch of novices, who hasn't even been, who hasn't been decorated amateurs, who haven't even won a world title, and yet they're able to draw that much TVs to the screen. So, in the height of the event, Deontay Wilder flew down to Saudi, which caught everybody surprised because we didn't think he was coming. He was there, along with Shelly Finkel, along with Mike Tyson, Derek Chisora, and it was a good sight to see that Deontay was chopping up with Mike Tyson. They were talking about, heavyweights of the past. They were telling stories, taking photo ops with each other. I mean, that was something I think, Deontay needed to do because I know him and Mike had beef over the years. They never met each other directly until that point, I believe. So it was a very good sight to see, right? And Derek Chisora there getting a photo op, and it's kind of weird that Derek Chisora all of a sudden turned out to be a groupie for Deontay Wilder. Him and him, him taking photo ops, they're doing some, Instagram streams together, not streams, but like a reel together. It was it was weird for Derek to be a groupie like that. I mean, obviously, I could stand as Mike Tyson, but Deontay Wilder, he was acting like a groupie, taking pictures with him and so forth. And then when Deontay was, being mobbed with questions and answers when he was making his way to the hotel, Tyson Fury is standing right in front, and he yelled "Bomb Squad." And Deontay walked over to him, gave him a smile, hugged him, and said, "Blessings to you," this, that, and the third. Look, it was a pretty awkward situation. And I've seen people chime in on that. And, especially the ones who don't like Deontay Wilder, the haters, as I want to call them, they said that, well, you know what? Where's all that energy that you have for him? If the man cheated you, as you claim he did, why are you going to hug him? Why are you going to say blessing to him? Yada, yada, yada. I get that argument, but at the end of the day, what's Deontay supposed to do? He's in a no-win situation there because if he had took the other approach that he still shows contempt towards Tyson Fury when he won't even acknowledge him, he'll start, if he went over there and he would have said some things to him, then a lot of people would have also said that, he's being a bad sport. He can't get over the loss. So which is it? Do you want him to get over the loss, accept the fact that Tyson Fury is a better man, or do you want him to still hold the same energy? So I don't understand what do these haters want him to do. I really don't understand it. So look, at the end of the day, yes, logically, he should have showed the same energy, as you want to call it. Okay, cool. But you're the same people who are saying that he needs to get over the Tyson Fury losses. He needs to accept the fact that he's a better man. So these people really don't know what they want. Because at the end of the day, I've concluded they'll criticize him no matter what he does. So in that situation, he was in a no-win, in a no-win situation right there. That's the way I look at it. No-win situation. No matter what he did, how he approached that, that Tyson Fury call out, that how he acknowledged him and how he went over and hugged him. I mean, me at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder even mentioned that they're going to fight the fourth time. He's alluded to that. So let's wait until he brings that energy to the fourth fight. If that more likely is going to happen, if that does happen, I think it will, based off what Wilder's been indicating and based off what Team Fury's been indicating. So I'm going to get into that right about now. Shout out to Boxy Learn in the chat. Raider, what's happening, man? Long time no hear, homie. Long time, man. Yeah, I'm just doing these sporadic live streams, man. So anyhow, let me get into this Tyson Fury. Speaking of him, while he's over there in Saudi Arabia, have anybody noticed that he has pretty much shielded or he's had, what's the word I'm looking for? Screened questions that were going to be presented to him before they filmed his interview. And I bet you that, and I noticed that many of the interviewers did not even bring up Alexander Usyk. The only time he was brought up, unless they spoke to someone in the member of the team, of Team Fury, whether it was Shane, whether it was John, whether it's whether it's someone in his entourage, whoever. But the fact is that the only person that came close to bringing up Alexander Usyk in the interview with Tyson Fury was Michelle Joy Phelps. She was the only one that came close. And then what did Tyson Fury do? He stopped her. He says, I don't want to talk about it, because she didn't even mention his name. In fact, she was saying, she pretty much, I'm just paraphrasing what she said. She says, I know he's not here and you don't want to talk about it, but the fight that we're expecting to be in Saudi Arabia is, and then he immediately stopped her, Tyson Fury that is. He immediately stopped Michelle Joy Phelps and says, you know what? I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my brother's event. That's it. Really? If you're here to talk about your brother's event, then why are you still talking about Deontay Wilder? Why are you still talking about Anthony Joshua while you're there? Tyson, Mr. Walking Contradiction. If you don't want to talk about other fighters while you're at your brother's event, why are you not talking about Alexander Usyk? Why are you screening interviewers and preventing them from asking questions about them to you? Why are you so worked up about Usyk? It seems like Fury is trying to find a way to avoid that conversation about Alexander Usyk. I don't know what it is about Usyk that it's got him so nervous about. It seems he's very nervous whenever he talks about the guy. That's the way I see it. And shout out to Beeb and Maestro, and I was on their live stream momentarily yesterday. And I just brought up the fact that I think that Fury's very worried about the Usyk fight. I believe that Fury doesn't believe that he could beat Usyk in his current stage. Hence that I believe he's trying to stall this fight, put it off for a while until he feels that he's in a good position to beat him. I think that's what he's trying to do. I really believe that. It makes no sense to me at all. No sense why he turns down that Saudi offer. Yes, they brought up a good point. I think Maestro brought up a good point, or was B, that maybe when they looked at they were presented the offer, they would assume it'd be the same offer as Anthony Joshua. Then they found out it wasn't the same offer. The fact that Joshua didn't actually get paid, which was from the Saudis as it was initially reported. So that's why they turned down the deal. I get that. But at the end of the day, it's still his biggest payday. He's not going to get that payday anywhere else. Nowhere else. Certainly not in the United Kingdom. And yet he turns it down. And as I told Beeb and I told Maestro, I said, no, I think the reason why he turned that deal down is because he knows he's not in the position to beat Alexander Usyk at the moment. If he was confident that he could beat the guy, he would have took the fight. He was taking the fight. But yeah, he's using this, this A-side split as an excuse to stall the fight, in my opinion. Okay? And the fact is that Usyk signed onto his deal over a month ago. Almost 2 months now. And yet Fury was the one who stalled the fight. And here he is trying to play the A-side as if, you see, I tried to make the fight. Usyk's team wouldn't have budged. They wouldn't budge. Yeah, okay, but you're the one who turned down the biggest payday to fight him in Saudi Arabia, and Usyk agreed to his side of the deal. You're the one, essentially, is the one that you're responsible for why that fight's going to be called off if it doesn't happen. Tyson Fury deserves 100% of blame for this. And I know some people say, well, Usyk should have taken the offer if he really wanted to fight. The fact is that Yes, you can make that argument, but you could also make the argument Tyson Fury is the one that went out there multiple times on record and said that he doesn't care about the money, it's all about the legacy. Now, all of a sudden, this situation with Usyk is all about the money, not legacy. So which is this? Which is it? Is it either about the legacy or is it about the money? Okay? So this is where he needs to be called out on. And I have to applaud this guy, and I don't give him much praise. Jarrett Davies, he even admitted that if this fight falls through, that's all on Tyson Fury. He's even said it, and he's a big Tyson Fury fan. You can call him a lapdog of Tyson Fury or a fanboy, whatever, or a sycophant. He's even said it. And I'm sure Team Fury or Tyson Fury himself didn't appreciate Jarrett Davies for saying that. So, yeah, I really believe that Fury is going to try to find a way to get out of this fight. I also heard ramblings that they will make an announcement soon. But the reason why I titled this in the ticker is the fight off because the deadline's already passed. And yet talks are in the impasse right now, which means there has been no deal been reached. So I just don't know what. Yeah, I think Fury's looking for a way out of this fight. Because if you notice, again, I have to bring this up. When he was in Saudi Arabia, he didn't want not one question about Alexander Usyk presented to him. Not one, which I believe that he screened those interviews. And he let his team deal with deal with the questions about Usyk. In fact, when his team was asked questions about it, they kept it short. They didn't want to talk about it. So there's something about Usyk that's got to Fury. And I believe that Usyk won the mind game so far. He's won it because he continues to taunt Fury. And the fact that Fury has not been able to overcome the fact that Usyk is too mentally strong. And he knows that he's going up against a guy that he's never seen before as far as skill set, as far as attributes, as far as speed, as far as what he can do in that ring. And I told Beeb and Maestro in the chat, yes, if the fight were to happen right now, the first 5 rounds could be nip and tuck. It could go either way. Fury could have early success, but when it gets to the mid, the 5th round and so on, Usyk is going to turn up a gear. Shows some things that Tyson Fury's never seen before, something that he won't be prepared for. That's how the fight's going to play out, and I think that's what Tyson Fury is really worried about. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Quick in the chat. He says that, what up, huh, man? He said Tyson Fury knows he can't cheat in the Saudis. Well, you know what? There's something, I'm not going to mention this in the live stream, but I will say this, though. I find it weird. Nah, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll leave it alone because I have no evidence of that. I don't want to get sued. So let me just leave it alone. So anyways, my point is that if this fight is actually deed off, this is all on Tyson Fury. And I better see all those pro Tyson Fury channels come out and condemn him on that. Because he's the one that turned down the fight for it to take place in Saudi. Usyk was the one that agreed to it. He's the one that agreed to it. He signed on his end of his deal for that fight 2 months ago. Fury's the one who didn't sign on it. And yet here are these Fury fanboys going out talking about Usyk needs to find his pin. I'm like, have you been keeping up? Usyk signed on to the fight 2 months ago. Fury's the one that's stalling. He's the one that's yet to sign the deal. In fact, he's the one that recently turned down the fight. In fact, I even presented that fact to some idiot fanboy in the comment section. And next thing you know, he blocks me because I presented the truth. And I believe he made a comment after I responded to that fact. After I presented that fact, I'm sure he responded, and yet I can't see the comment because he blocked me like a coward. So, yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I got about a good 40 minutes. I'll go ahead and post a link. So, anyhow, I just think that this guy, if this fight, again, I'm going to have to repeat myself. If this fight doesn't happen, that's all on Tyson Fury. I don't give a damn if, if Usyk turns it down because he's being lowball. I'm not going to blame Usyk for that because he already agreed to the fight months ago. And this guy's the one who's turned down his biggest payday to make the fight. This is no excuse for it. We all crapped on Deontay Wilder for doing that to Anthony Joshua, and we all did that to Anthony Joshua to a lesser degree. And yet here we are with the Tyson Fury. We want to give him the benefit of the doubt because, I want the fight in Saudi. In women. I want to bring it back to the people, which is bullshit. If that was the case, excuse my language, if he really wanted to bring that fight to the people, then why did he negotiate with the Saudis in the first place? Why not have the why not have the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight in the UK if it was for the people? Why not do that? So I don't give a damn what the Fury fanboys say. He's the reason why that fight is off, from the looks of it. He needs to be blamed for that, and he needs to be called out for it. And another thing that worries me about this too, if Tyson Fury continues to cherry pick opponents that he knows he can beat, it's going to be at some point, sometime, that shit's going to catch up to him. He's going to get upset. What I mean by upset, he's going to get beat. He might get knocked out because this is the heavyweight division, and he won't recover. Why? Because he kept cherry picking opponents for so long, believing he could beat them, and then it caught up to him. To me, what I'm saying is that I believe that it'd be better off if he fight Usyk now and lose to Usyk. Because at the end of the day, if you lose to him, so what? You lost to an all-time great. Nothing wrong with that. You lost to an all-time great. If you lose to a lesser opponent, then it's going to look much worse. I'm just being honest. If he loses to a guy that's much lesser than Alexander Usyk, hell, who knows? If he fights Deontay Wilder the fourth time and he ends up losing to Wilder, that's going to look bad. Not saying Deontay Wilder's not elite heavyweight, but the fact is that if you fight a guy that you arguably beat three times and then you fight him a fourth time because you know his style, you know what he can do, and then next thing you know, he catches you one big shot, you may not get up this time. You'd be done. That's why I say you can't continue to avoid tough fights forever. I'm not saying Tyson Fury never taken tough fights. He has. But now he's in a position where he could pretty much dictate who he fights now. I think he's being bitten off where he could chew if he continues to do this. Because it's going to be at some point in some time that if he fights an opponent that's been beat already, that opponent's going to knock him out. It's going to beat him. That's why I emphasize take the Usyk fight now. You lose to him, which I think you will. It's not as bad because you lost to an all-time great. Come on. I don't know what's he so worried about. What's Tyson Fury so worried about? I know what he's worried about. He's worried about relevancy. That's what he's worried about. He likes to stay relevant. And I saw one video, I forgot who the uploader is. I know a lot of people read into it, but he may have a point here when he posted this video because when he was in Saudi, when Mike Tyson was there, Mike Tyson was the one who gets all the attention. He gets all the, the accolades. People want to get autographs with him, want to take pictures with him. And then when Tyson Fury was side by side with Mike Tyson, he looked at those people who were going after, who was like mobbing Mike Tyson. He had a look of, okay, what about me? I'm here, guys. Does anybody want to get a picture with me? He looked like a guy who looked out of place. He looked like, I'm relevant. Well, I'm here. So he's a guy, he needs to have the attention no matter what. If he doesn't have that attention, what does Tyson Fury do? He mentally collapses. I think this is part of his psyche, part of his mental problem, is that he got to stay relevant no matter what. And if he can't win the battle of psychological warfare, he collapses, he goes crazy, he turns into a different person. That's his problem. So, yeah, Mr. Quick, I actually think if he gets beat, he'll quit boxing. Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. You may have a good point. If he gets beat by somebody other than Usyk, expect Tyson Fury going to this deep road of depression again. Start, using, drugs at an escalated rate. It's not saying he's using drugs now. What I mean by drugs, recreational drugs like cocaine, whatever. And don't get me wrong, I think he's still on that shit. I'm not talking about performance enhancement drugs. I'm talking about recreational drugs. I think he's still on it because the way he behaves and the way he sniffs all the time. It seems like he got coked up before he's, going out to an event or something. That's just my opinion. So, yeah. True, but you have to look at all the damage he's taking too. Exactly. Tyson Fury has taken a lot of damages in some of his tough fights. And he can't continue to be taking damage like that forever. And that's why I'm saying, though, if you're going to fight someone, I say this too, he's expected to beat Joe Joyce. All you do is have to outbox him. But what if he can't his legs can't hold up against Joe Joyce? What if he can't circle him forever? Because if he fights Joe Joyce is going to eventually get to him and knock him out and hurt him. So I don't know, man. This guy, he's running out of opponents, and that's why he's looking at that Deontay Wilder fourth fight. So, and the thing is, too, if you're a Tyson Fury fan, you might want to be a little cautious about that, too, because at some point, sometime, if he fights Wilder the fourth time or the fifth time, whatever, he's eventually going to get beat because his legs are slowed down. He can't get back into the same fight shape that he used to be. He's too heavy now. and yet he's a little bit slower than he used to. So he's going to get beat eventually. That's why I say if you're going to get beat by someone, fight Alexander Usyk. Get beat by Usyk. I think that's a better loss to fight anyone else right now, in my opinion. That's just my take. Mr. Quick says that both him and Deontay have lots of damage. By the way, I'm not sure if Usyk can actually beat him. Well, yeah, I mean, look, the only logical way that Tyson Fury can win that fight is to maul him and pressure Usyk. That's the only way he can beat him. But if that doesn't work, if he continues to miss Usyk with some big shots, and by the way, if you continue to miss shots and you pressure him, that's going to tire you down. That's what happened to Derek Chisora. That's what happened to him. You continue to miss big shots and power shots, you're going to drain. That's what happened to Tony Bellew. So, and I forgot to mention this in the live stream yesterday with Ben Maestro, and I said, look, I should have mentioned this because yes, Tyson Fury can maul him. But if he can't hit Usyk with his power shots, if he continues to miss him, he's going to not mentally drain out, but he's going to physically fatigue, and Usyk's going to catch him. So it's easier said than done. That's the only way that Tyson Fury can win that fight is to maul the guy. The only way. But if he can't connect on his power shots or hit him with some good shots, then he's losing that fight. I'll tell you that right now. He's losing that fight. So yeah, look at Usyk's face after Joshua, and he beat Joshua. But after his crunk training, he's more accurate than Joshua. I think those punches will catch him after the 5th or 6th round. Well, yeah, I mean, look, Tyson Fury, arguably is a better fighter, as far as durability wise, as far as conditioning wise. And what I mean by conditioning, as far as endurance wise, and Anthony Joshua, I get that. But his punch coordination is, it's all over the place sometimes. I mean, yes, he's got technique, but sometimes his punch coordination is it's like he doesn't turn his punches correctly. And this is something that Sugar Hill mentioned before he trained him, that sometimes I have to teach him how to punch correctly, right? And the fact is, too, is that Sugar Hill has taught Fury to be not more of a cautionary fighter. He's taught him to be, he's taught him to be more of a fighter to take more chances. But at this point, at heavyweight, you can't continue to be taking chances forever, especially fighting big punches like Joe Joyce or Anthony Joshua. So, yeah, it could catch up to Usyk. I'm not saying this is a concrete result, but I'm saying that Usyk just got more tools in his arsenal than Tyson Fury. That's just my opinion. And I think this is why Fury is trying to stall this fight. If it gets made, then great. I'll be the first one to come on here and says, you know what? I'm glad both sides got it done. I don't care who gave in to who. As long as we got the fight, that's all that matters. Okay? So, yeah, I just don't like where this is going right now. And it looks like, from where I'm sitting, that fight is off. Fury Usyk, that is. It's off. And what Tyson Fury, who's he going to fight next? I heard there's a rumor that he's already got an opponent lined up for April 29th. Could it be Deontay Wilder? And by the way, Wilder flew to London after the Saudi event. He flew to London. And I wonder why was he in London for? So let's put two and two together. He goes to Saudi unexpectedly. No one knew he was coming other than Shelly Finkel. Shelly Finkel knew he was coming, but nobody else knew. Then all of a sudden, he leaves the Saudi event, and then he's out in London. Why was Deontay Wilder out in London for? And Tyson Fury was there too. Why? Like I said, let's connect the dots here. Let's put two together. There's a possibility that they're going to announce that 4th fight. There's a possibility that's going to happen. And do I want to see it? Nope, not at all. And I also believe that if that's not the case, then Andrew Ruiz fight might be on because the PBC is going through some major financial crisis right now. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So, yeah, Joe Joyce will probably beat Fury. He has 5 times more the bone density than the mass normal heavyweight. Yeah, he does. That is remarkable for Joe Joyce to have that much bone density. It kind of reminds me of George Foreman in a way. So George Foreman-esque, as you want to call it. So, yeah, I mean, if anything, can Tyson Fury's legs keep up against the pressure and the engine of Joe Joyce? That's something we have to take to account. Ideally, the best way to beat Joyce is just to circle him out, box him. But do you have the legs and the engine to keep up that pace? Because I don't think Fury may have, it's a possibility that Fury may not have that. It may not have those legs. And again, he doesn't have the legs anymore to fight that long. especially against a guy like Joyce. So can he keep it up? In fact, Alan Babbage had mentioned this a while ago. He said that he witnessed the sparring matches between Joe Joyce and Tyson Fury, and he said, "quote," and this is just paraphrasing what he said. He said, "Right now, if they were to fight, you have to give it to Joe Joyce because I don't think at the Tyson Fury at this stage of his career, he won't be able to cope with that pressure of Joe Joyce. He won't be able to do it." And Alan Babbage even said that it'd be best if Tyson Fury stays away from Joe Joyce right now at this stage of his career. It'd be best if he stays away from him. So, yeah. Yeah. So, again, this is why I think Tyson Fury's going at this point of his career, he's going to keep recycling opponents that he knows he can beat. Why is he talking about bringing out David Price and David Hay out of retirement to fight them? Why is he talking about fighting them now? Those guys are retired. So, yeah, he's running out of opponents. He doesn't want to be in tough fights anymore. So that's what it seems like to me. And he's running out of options. And that's why they're bringing in Deontay Wilder from the looks of it. That's what it seems like to me. Unless if there's something in the Julie Zhang fight that he sees in Joe Joyce there's a bit of slippage or something like that, then he'll probably take the fight. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to see it either. Yeah, here's the thing. Deontay Wilder need to work his way up. He has to earn that shot. If he beats Ruiz, then I can say, you know what? The fourth fight is warranted because he worked his way up. He beat Ruiz in the final time eliminator. He's the mandatory challenger. He's earned the right. But if he thinks he could just leapfrog everyone else and then get into fourth Fury fight, then I got a problem with that. I got a huge problem with that. So, yeah, Joyce will knock him the fuck out. I mean, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. By the way, Joyce is yeah, I have high hopes for Joe Joyce. I really believe I have high hopes for him. And by the way, he's the same age as Deontay Wilder. They're both 37 years old. So, yeah, Joe Joyce doesn't even look like he's 37. But as I mentioned before, the heavyweights have a lot more miles on their clock. And Julie Zhang is 40 years old and, well, about to be 40. And the fact is, yeah, he doesn't look like he has that, he doesn't, I mean, he's only had, 20 pro fights or 21, but he's still got a lot of miles on his clock, and he's 40. So, yeah. Fury will never fight Joyce. I mean, let's hope he does, but if he doesn't fight Joyce either, then we got a huge problem with that. And we can't be doing this what ifs or he'll beat him anyway if he doesn't fight him. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is going to all these Fury fanboys. If you're going to say that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight of this era, then why do you continue to give him a pass when he doesn't fight, threatening to contenders like Joe Joyce or Alexander Usyk? Why do you continue to give him a pass for not fighting those guys? And the man's only had eight title fights if you want to include the linealship. That's all he's ever had. He's already almost 40 fights in. That's just terrible. You can't call him the best heavyweight of the era if he hasn't fought Joshua, he hasn't fought Ruiz, he hasn't fought Joyce, he hasn't fought Usyk, and he hasn't fought Herkovich, Zhang. So you can't give him that crowning achievement if he's not willing to fight those guys. So yeah. I mean, wasn't Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury really good friends before they fought? So, I mean, maybe on the download, not saying on the download, behind the scenes, I think they're all kind of concocted this together. I think they're still friends. I mean, one part of me believes that, but I mean, it is what it is. Olaf the Mighty says that the fourth fight is never warranted under any circumstances. I mean, yeah, I get it, Molov. I get your position on that. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the fact that he fought his way into the mandatory position. He fought a very durable and worthy opponent, Andrew Ruiz, and beat him, hypothetically. And you could say, you know what, we'll have to give him a pass because he actually did that, coming off back-to-back Hurd beatings from Tyson Fury. He went in there and beat Hulanius, who was in good form after 2 knockout wins over Konaki. He beat him. Then he beats Ruiz. So, yeah, that's a good, decent comeback run after those 2 losses to Fury. So, yeah. All right, man, no worries. Yep.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, how's it going, man? Long
Good,
time.
man. How's it going?
One sec. My volume's a bit low. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. I was just listening to what you're talking about. I don't think this fight's gonna happen because I
Yeah.
seen the interview by Frank Warren. If it doesn't happen by this week, I don't think it's happening. I've already heard that Warren wants to make the Joyce fight, but he said he wants Fury to beat Usyk and then make it for all the belts. But
Yeah.
I just don't see that. Like I don't know. That's a long shot because Joyce will have to wait until later this year. I don't see that. I think if the fight doesn't happen, I think he'll just make Fury Joyce, which is an in-house fight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a logical option for Tyson Fury. I mean, I guess if you look at it, you could say, okay, it's better than fighting Deontay Wilder the fourth time, which I agree. But at the end of the day, people are going to look at it as a cherry pick because it's like, wait a minute, you're fighting a guy who's slow as molasses. And, it's like his punch coordination is a little bit off. He's awkward, yes, but his defense is terrible. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, is that if Tyson Fury continues to cherry pick opponents that he believes he can beat, it's going to be at some point. Sometimes it's going to catch up to him because he's going to lose to a guy that's lesser than Alexander Usyk. And I hate to say it, Joe Joyce is slightly a step behind Usyk in a way. If he loses to him, people are going to look at that and say it'd been better off if you fought Usyk and lose to him because you lost to a guy who's an all-time great. Joyce, I like him. I do admire him. I respect his work and what he's done, but he's not in an all-time great status yet. Usyk is. So if you lose to him, it's better that you fought a guy who's in that status and lose to him, opposed to lose to a guy who's arguably is like, pretty much now out of the prospect stages. You know what I mean? Who isn't even a champion, but yet you lost to this guy. You cherry picked him. It backfired on him. So it just to me is that I think he's just not. I don't think he wants the Usyk fight right now. He's waiting for him to slow down. He's waiting to see if there's any signs of weaknesses that he can exploit. And I just don't like it. And many people, especially his fanboys, are giving him passes for this. I just don't like it. So yeah, again, at the end of the day, it's his choice of who he wants to fight. That's fine. But again, I just think that if you choose the wrong opponent, it's going to catch up, and you're going to lose to the guy that we didn't expect you to lose to, and that's just the way it is.
No,
So,
I don't think the Joyce fight is a bad fight, but it's not a fight that we need to see next right now.
right,
I would not have a problem. Look, I was critical of Mayweather as well, and this is my problem with some of these channels because they don't like Fury. Now they decide to, be very critical, which is fair enough. But when it came to Mayweather, when it came to other fighters which they liked or were kind of given the benefit of the doubt, they weren't holding those guys to the same standard. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't like that. But in terms of this fight, I don't think this is a fight that we need to see right now. If it happens, the Joyce fight, and then we get the Usyk fight, fair enough. I still think he deserves criticism, but at that point, I will not have much hope. I'm kind of losing interest in boxing as it is. I know there was a good UFC fight yesterday, but
Yeah,
as long as he doesn't fight Nagano and he fights Usyk and then fights Joyce, that'll be ideal. But I just got a feeling he's gonna fight Joyce, and I think at that point he does deserve criticism because if he was a bit real about it or say he was consistent, then at least you could hold him to standard. But the guy has said he's a blown up middleweight. He said he's a easier fight than I can't remember. Was it Chisora or Dilla White? I can't
they're
remember.
saying his team
Yeah,
is even going out saying that he's an easier fight than
yeah.
Deontay Wilder. They're
Then the
bringing
guy, yeah,
Deontay Wilder back up to the conversation recently, and as I mentioned earlier, I just mentioned not too long ago, Wilder unexpectedly flew to Saudi. Nobody knew he was coming other than Shelly Finkel. He kept that under wraps.
yeah.
Nobody knew he was coming there. And then after the Saudi event ended, Wilder's over there. He flies to London. And Tyson Fury's there too. Why did Wilder fly to London for? There has to be one logical explanation why he's there. Is either he met with Eddie Hearn, which I doubt, or he's met up with Frank Warren and them, and they're probably trying to put together a fourth fight. And to me, that right there, I got a problem with.
Yeah,
Deontay is.
no,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
sorry. I did hear these talks of AJ and Wilder fight, but I don't know. I agree with you. Well, Fury himself, or was it Frank Warren, said that the Wilder fight is not happening next. You were saying something. Uh, you're not sure why he went there.
Yeah,
What? Yeah, Wilder did say himself he came to watch the fight, but I think there is some sort of negotiations going on because Saudi Arabia seems to be hosting a lot of the big fights. They managed to get the AJ Usyk fight and the two, not the two, the one, the rematch with the Ruiz fight. So maybe there is some sort of negotiations where they. My problem is this: I think Wilder could potentially be a more dangerous fighter. I'm not saying right now. Say what was it? Not last year, the year before, or the second or first fight. Then Usyk,
Right.
because Wilder could have knocked him out. I don't think Usyk could knock him out. I'm not saying Usyk doesn't have a better chance of beating him because he is technically superior to Wilder. But when you're going far as saying Nagano's a tougher fight than Chisora, or I can't remember if it's Chisora or someone else, they said John Fury and Tyson Fury, then it doesn't look good. And this is my problem with boxing.
Yeah.
Fans, media, all these people are talking about what's happening outside the ring more than what's happening inside the ring. And that's not a good sign. Like in other sports, in UFC, football, whatever, basketball, at least they all play each other or the best fight the best. And if Fury doesn't fight Usyk, if he fights Joyce, it's not a bad fight, but it's not a good look because we already have
Yeah.
missed out on the Spence Crawford fight, and this is probably, I think, the biggest fight in boxing at the moment. And if it doesn't
Right.
happen, that's not good look.
Well, like I said though, as I mentioned, if this fight doesn't happen, that's all on Tyson Fury. 100% blame on him. I know people are going to say, "Well, Usyk turned down the split that was offered to him to fight at Wembley." Look, that's not the point. The point is that Usyk already signed on to his deal for that fight to take place in Saudi Arabia. It was Team Fury who went out there and sought the location, not Team Usyk. They're the ones who the headliners there. They're the ones who are putting the event together, not Team Usyk. Usyk was happy with his deal. He signed on to it. Why did Team Fury stall onto that deal for 3 months until they eventually rejected? Why did they do that? And now all of a sudden they want to say, well, we want to bring the fight back to the people. That's what we were trying to do. Really? Then why did you take the fight to Saudi in the first place? Why did you try
Yeah,
to
no,
host it
no,
over there? And second
that's
of
a
all,
good
if it
point.
was, yeah, second point, if that was the case, then why did you have the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight in the UK? Why did you take it to Saudi then if it's for the people? So don't sit there and use that crap. I'm just saying, don't give them a pass if this fight falls through. This is all on them. And even Garrett Davis even said it. If this fight's off, that's on Team Fury, not on Team Usyk. That's on them.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I agree. I agree. The only thing I will say is, in the UK, look, I don't want to make it out like I'm sticking up for Fury or anything like that, but I have seen the argument from Fury fans and from people more subjective fans saying, I see the argument as well from both sides, saying that Usyk deserves 50-50. In the UK, I do think Fury is a bigger draw, but at
Yeah,
the same time, I do think is not a bad deal, and I don't think is that too much to ask if Usyk gets 50-50 because of the fact that he's got four of the five belts. But my point, only contention would be if Usyk has to concede a little bit, say 5 to 10%, and the fight is to take place in the UK, could he do something about that? Because then can he not ask for a more better percentage in the rematch
right.
if say he wins the fight? Because in the
Yeah.
UK, I do think Usyk is a bigger draw than some people make it out, but he's not as big as obviously Fury. But he does
No,
have
no, he's not.
four of the five belts, so
Yeah,
he does
yeah,
have an argument.
yeah. That's a good point. And I will say this: I think Usyk needs to concede to the lower split. This is what he
Oh
how
yeah,
he could how he could negotiate it. You can say, "Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll take the lower end of the split. But when I beat you, I that split needs to be reversed." So if Tyson Fury rejects to that, then I'm going to say, you know what? He's ducking the fight. You know why? Because why did he agree to that for the Deontay Wilder fights? Should either, especially for the rematch, when they reneged that negotiation for the second fight, part of that deal was that Wilder was going to take the higher split because he was a champion, right? 60
yeah.
40 was going to Wilder in the second fight. Should whoever's going to win that fight, whoever wins that fight gets to keep the site split intact. So should actually no, was it 60-40 or was it 50-50? I think it was
No, wait,
50-50.
wait, wait. Actually, you make me think though. If Fury was offered 50-50 and he didn't have any belts in the first fight, then I do think Usyk does deserve 50-50 as well
Yeah,
because Usyk has more belts. Fury
right.
has one belt, and on top of that, Wilder gave Fury literally a bone where he didn't have to give him anything. Like the guy who
Right.
had no belts, pretty much was coming off a long layoff and had a couple of
Yeah.
chooses. That was the
Right,
first
right,
fight,
right.
yeah.
Right, but my point is that if he rejects the rematch clause stipulation, that should I beat you, Tyson Fury, then I get the higher split. And he doesn't, if he rejects that, then he's a hypocrite because why did you agree to that when you signed on the contract to fight Deontay Wilder? Because if you lost to him, you have to take the lower split in the rematch. Why did you agree to that stipulation, but not to my stipulation, to the same stipulation for me fighting you? Somebody needs to
Yeah.
call him out on that. It says, why did you agree to that Wilder stipulation for take the lower split should you have lost to him, but yet you won't agree to that with Usyk? Why?
I think we all know the guy is a hypocrite.
Yeah.
He contradicts himself, and the guy is a what's it called? Is guy who seems like who's got bipolar. But the only thing I have a problem is this guy said he'll fight anyone. He's the great, like you said, he's the greatest heavyweight. All this and that. If you're that and Usyk is a blown up middleweight, then fight the guy, beat him, and prove you're the best of this era. And another problem with that I have is, I think it's Hatman who was saying the thing is, a lot of people are giving this guy already credit when the fight hasn't taken place. I do favor him slightly to beat Usyk, especially if he's in the UK,
Right.
because I know Usyk has fought bigger men like guys like Joyce and Joshua have beaten him, but Fury is a superior boxer than those guys, and I think
Yeah.
he's got size advantage on top as well. But at the same time, I don't think it's a given, and I can't give him credit for when the fight hasn't taken place. So if this guy is an easier fight than Wilder, Klitschko,
Yeah.
and some of the other guys he's beaten, then prove it. Otherwise, like you can't give this guy credit and say he's the greatest of this era or one of the greatest heavyweight when he hasn't even beaten the top challengers of this era or in his division because this was the problem with the Mayweather era, and I think it started with Mayweather. He didn't fight guys like Antonio Margarito, Paul Williams, Miguel Cotto when he was unbeaten, and this was the thing that happened in that era as well. Mayweather was getting a lot of credit for when they all start beating each other up, and then Pacquiao came along and he beat a lot of those guys up,
Right.
and people just automatically said Mayweather's the best because he beat Marquez convincingly. A Marquez, I don't know what was it, beat Pacquiao or had two close fights. It doesn't work like that. You gotta fight everyone or at least all the top guys in your era. If you don't,
Yeah.
then you're being given credit or extra credit for stuff you haven't done or other guys have done.
Right, especially this whole idea that Floyd was undisputed champion because he had 3 of the 4 belts. No, that's not correct. In
Yeah,
fact, Floyd even said that himself, and everybody started running on that. And then when Floyd said that, then a lot of people say, "Hey, wait a minute, that's not correct. You didn't even have the WBO title. You didn't hold that. You didn't even capture that title. Actually, no, you did, but he did capture the IBF, the welterweight
IBF,
title
yeah,
right, at the
yeah,
same time. You didn't even have that belt at the same time. Yes, you won it one time when you went up to welterweight, but you didn't have it at the same time. So you were never undisputed champion because you didn't hold the belts simultaneously. And that's exactly what we told these Floyd fanboys. And it's like, well, technically he should be because it should be 3 out of 4 belts. It's like that's not how it works. There's no rule that you have to have 3 of the 4 belts to be undisputed. You're undisputed because there's no other belts to dispute. That's why you're
yeah, yeah. I
undisputed.
know. I agree with that, but I would say one thing. In
Yeah.
that point, was anyone really clamoring for the Kell Brook fight? Because I think
No.
my problem with Mayweather was not back then when he beat Pacquiao. They were both past their prime, and that time that fight was way past the. Once he beat Pacquiao, he was clearly the number one welterweight. Although he
Right.
wasn't technically undisputed, he had pretty much stamped his authority as the number one pound for pound fighter in the welterweight. And I thought Khan, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, all those guys probably would have been better fights than a guy like Berto. So I would not mind the Brook fight because I think it was better than the Berto fight. But the
Yeah.
point now is if Mayweather left the Pacquiao fight on the table, say him and Pacquiao didn't fight, and he fought Brook instead, and then he just, I don't know, retired or fought someone else, then I would have had a problem because you're not
Yeah.
fighting your biggest challenge or the guy that's perceived to be as a top pound for
Yeah.
pound fighter, and if not the best, the second best in the division. But Mayweather
Yeah.
did eventually fight him, even though they're both past their prime. This is the problem. If Fury doesn't fight Usyk, I think it's a bad look. Because if Wilder comes along and knocks Usyk out, I can't give Fury credit. Just because you've beaten Wilder, you did not beat Usyk. If Wilder knocks Usyk out, then
Yeah.
Wilder's the guy who deserves credit because
Yeah.
Wilder will have done that.
Right. Exactly. You know what Fury's going to say if that happens? He's gonna say, you guys want me to fight him. You guys said he could beat me. Yeah, look what Wilder did to him, and I beat him 3 times. I'm like, nah, bro, that's not how it works. You could try to use that triangle theory. You were supposed to fight him, not Deontay Wilder. Wilder had to go in there and take the fight that you didn't want. So it doesn't work like that. You don't get credit for a guy you refused to fight. You don't get credit for that.
Yeah.
So you can say, well, you're slacking me off. No, I'm not slacking you off. I'm telling you the truth. You may not like it. That's a fact.
So, no. You're right. Because when Ward beat Lucian Bute, when Froch beat Lucian Bute, that should have really been Ward. I understood why Ward kind of didn't want to fight him because I think Bute at that point didn't want to travel. Ward said he didn't want to travel and he thought he deserved to be the guy who fights at home because he had more belts or something. But Showtime had that fight set up. I'm pretty sure Showtime said after the Super 6, Ward and Butte is the fight we want to make. And then Ward just, I think, walked away because he said Butte didn't fight anyone. And then he ended up, I think, fighting Chad Dawson or HBO. But just because he had beaten Froch and Froch knocked out Butte, that doesn't mean Ward gets extra credit because he wasn't the guy who beat Butte.
Yeah, that's a good point. Shout out to Tony. I heard that little screech in the background. That was probably him. What's up, Tony? Yep. I guess he's moving in between rooms.
Yeah, my bad. So let me bring the controversy. Okay. First off, let's get into this. Usyk does not deserve 50-50. Point blank, period. That's a fact. He does not deserve it. He might want it. He might feel like he does because he has 3 out of the 4 titles, which I'll get to in a minute, but he doesn't. So let's look at boxing, the nature of the sport.
Right.
It's never been about belts. A-B side has been about who generates the most money. That's all it's ever been about. It doesn't matter if you have belts. A case in point to this is look at any Adrian Broner fight. It doesn't matter who he fights. It doesn't matter how many losses he's got in a row. He's going to be the A side. Why? Because everybody's coming to see him. They don't care who he's fighting. They're coming to see him. That's just the fact of the matter. That's why whenever Pacquiao was doing big numbers, Mayweather was doing big numbers, there was such a debate. But they both were doing huge numbers, so it was a 50-50. But in this case, it's just not. It's not a 50-50 as far as the business goes. Then you look at the legitimacy of it, the titles. Well, let me give you an example, an apples to apples, because this was brought up earlier. UFC. John Jones just won the heavyweight title. But everybody knows. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tony. Kind of fell off, bro.
You cannot hear me?
I could hear him.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear him.
I can
really?
hear him.
Really?
Now I can hear you now. Go ahead, man.
Okay. So what I was saying is let's go to apples and apples comparison. UFC, okay? John Jones just became the heavyweight champion. However, he's not the real champion. We all know Ngannou is the real champion. We all know it's Francis. We all know that was a vacated title because Dana White didn't want to pay Francis what he deserved. So even though he is the paper champion, that's not his belt. That's Francis's belt. Francis did the work. In fact, Francis already beat Gang, who he got the title off of. So how can you beat a guy that the real champion already beat and then call yourself the champion? You can't. Now, to make this make sense, full circle. Anthony Joshua, he had Tyson Fury's belts. Every single one of those belts that AJ collected belonged to Tyson Fury. He never lost them in the ring. Usyk beat Anthony Joshua to claim Tyson Fury's belts. Those are Tyson Fury's belts until he loses, until somebody dethrones him. And I don't even like Tyson Fury, but the fact
I don't agree completely with that.
I don't care. Let me finish my train of thought.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Finish your boy, man. Go ahead, brother.
As I continue, AJ beat Charles Martin. Really? Charles Martin. That was a heavyweight champion? Notable? Really? Charles Martin. Joseph Parker, who has come up short in big fights more than one time now. That's a legitimate champion? Really? A guy who comes up short every time he fights an A-class fighter, whether it be Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, or Joe Joyce, and got destroyed, battered? That's the real legit? No. The fact of the matter is those belts belong to Klitschko, who Fury took off his waist. He stopped the 10-year reign. He stopped it. He left boxing. They were vacated. He's the real champion. Now, let's make this one last point, and then you can tell me how you disagree. You brought up Mayweather. Mayweather's retired 80 million times. But every time Mayweather came out of retirement with no titles, everybody said Mayweather was the best welterweight. It didn't matter who the fuck else, whether it was a Victor Ortiz or anybody else. Nobody looked at them as real champions. They always looked at Mayweather as the real champion every time he came out of retirement. So the fact of the matter is, Tyson Fury is the number one guy. Usyk should accept, I wouldn't say lower than 40%, but I'm not going to play manager. You know, I don't control the finances, but I don't think he deserves it because, truth be told, the lineal status that he has now, he never earned. He didn't beat everybody to get that title. He never became the man. Who the fuck is Joshua? Joshua was sold to us to be this unstoppable force, and he got beat by a short, fat guy in a cruiserweight now. Maybe he's not as good as we thought he was because Fury beat two of the guys that AJ beat and made it look easy when AJ went life or death with both of them. Klitschko and Dillian White. Life or death with both. And Fury made it look like it was easy. The fact of the matter is, and I'll end on this, Fury is the real king. Fury is the best of the division. Usyk really doesn't have any bargaining chips because those are Tyson Fury's belts.
All right. Well,
all right. Let me get back to that. I think this is going to be easy because I am a Fury fan, but I think context matters. And just because you beat the guy or you beat the man who beat the man, that doesn't mean you automatically could do what you want, sit on the shelf for 3 years, sniff cocaine, not defend your belt, not on a rematch it closes, start, throwing a tantrum and then start blaming on depression. Whether or not it was real or not, that's not AJ's fault. And I was an AJ fan as well. I can't be a fan of both guys, but just because AJ beat Charles Martin, Joseph Parker, and all these guys for the belts, that's not his fault. You beat or you fight whoever's in front of you. And those belts just happened to be fragmented at that time. My big contention with that thing is, and I'll get back to Fury, was AJ and Wilder should have fought because we could have got an undisputed champion back then. But the matter of fact is, Fury didn't fight Klitschko when there was a rematch clause, and he, to me, is essentially ducked that rematch because I think in the rematch it may have been a more competitive or maybe even a closer fight. He also didn't ever defend any of those belts, so I can't give him extra credit just because he dethroned the man. He didn't defend those belts, and unlike AJ, who actually was gonna have a rematch with Klitschko, Klitschko retired. He didn't want the rematch, so I give AJ more credit in that win, in a way. But even though I do think Fury's win was better in terms of the performance, because obviously he pretty much won 10 or 11 rounds, but since then he didn't do anything until the Wilder first fight. And if we're gonna go by what happened in the actual, factually what happened in the ring, it was a draw. Even though I thought Fury won, so after that he pretty much did not win the title until I think it was 2022, and then he did defend the WBC title. But those belts are not automatically his just because he's won them. And the difference between the UFC and boxing is, in UFC there's only I think one belt, and I didn't follow the whole Nagano situation, but that was more political. Where with Fury, he failed a drug test, he disappeared for 3 years. He got stripped, I believe, of the IBF belt because he had a mandatory challenger and he didn't want to fight Charles Martin. And then he didn't have the rematch with Klitschko. So Fury is no victim. I think Fury, some of the whole drug testing, maybe scandal, could have been handled a bit better because he did, I think, fail the drug test for the Christian Hammer fight. But him not defending those belts, sitting on the shelf, what do you expect people to do with that division to just freeze? Like, you can't keep those belts for 3 4 years. If it was one title, I would have understood it, like the lineal title. That's what I still do regard him as. Yeah, like the lineal champion. But we're in boxing where we go like 5 or 4 different sanctioning bodies. I do think Usyk it deserves less than 50% if they fight in the UK. I agree with that stance, and I've seen some boxing fans who now all of a sudden think Usyk deserves 50-50 if he's in the UK. I think it's more to do with Fury just contradicting himself and the things he says. But if they fight in Saudi Arabia, I don't know. Can I really say Fury deserves more than 50%? Because for some reason, Fury's fights with Joshua fell through. This fight with Usyk fell through. If Fury is such a big draw, as people say he is, I'm not talking about in the UK or even in America. I'm just talking about around the world, say in Saudi Arabia, or in other parts of Asia or Africa. like I think AJ is, then surely Fury would have got these fights, because AJ and Usyk managed to get that fight over the line in Saudi Arabia, and so did AJ and Ruiz. So I don't know if Fury is this so-called big draw in the UK. I think he is, and I think he's probably overtaken Joshua. I know Joshua's some of his cheerleaders tried denying that, but I think outside the UK, maybe in America, he has cracked that market more so than guys like AJ and even Wilder, who's American. But in Asia and Saudi Arabia, I don't know, and across other countries in Europe, I don't think he's that big of a draw as people make it out, because I do think Usyk can argue that he deserves more than, maybe not 50%, but more than, I'd say, 30 to 20, 40%, something like that. Because if they fight in Saudi Arabia, or if they fight somewhere neutral, then it'll come down to who's actually bringing more money in. And if they both bring in just about the same amount, then I think 50-50 is not a bad deal.
Oh, okay, so I did not say once that Tyson Fury should have the belts that Usyk's wearing by default. What I said is those belts that are around his waist, he really has no legitimacy to him, to those belts, because the real champion, the real winner of the belts, the real man who dethroned the man that dominated the division for 10 years straight is back. At that point, you're not really, you could have it. Even if Tyson Fury came back today and never fought Deontay Wilder, never fought his tune-up fight, never fought Chisora, just a fight ago, never knocked out Dillian White with the uppercut. Even if he came back today and Usyk was undisputed, let's just say hypothetically Usyk was already undisputed and Tyson Fury came back today, there would still be a dispute that Tyson Fury is the real champion because he won all the titles. Period. It doesn't matter that he left. He never lost them in the ring. Now, as far as the drug cheat shit goes, he won the boar meat in court. What he lost was cocaine. So he was never proven to be guilty of doing PEDs. He was proven to be guilty of cocaine, which they retroacted. But anyway, past that, Tyson Fury, coming back after a 3-year layoff, did something that Muhammad Ali could not do. Muhammad Ali was gone for almost 3 years, came back, had 2 tune-ups, and lost. Hold on. Lost to Joe Frazier.
I want to interject on that, but go ahead, Tony. Finish.
Hold on. He came back and lost to Joe Frazier. Okay. Mike Tyson couldn't do what Tyson Fury did. Mike Tyson was in jail for 3 years, 2.5, 3 years removed from the sport. Came back, had his tune-ups against guys like Bofa, and then he got in there and got his ass whooped against Holyfield. So the fact of the matter is, I don't like him. I would love to see Joe Joyce knock Tyson Fury out. I would love to see Usyk dance around him, even though I know Usyk's going to be easy work. It's not even going to be competitive. He's going to beat him with ease. I would love to see Fury lose, but the fact of the matter is, the dude's the best fighter of this era because every time he steps up in a hard fight, he makes the shit look like they don't belong in the ring with him. Klitschko looked like he didn't belong in the ring with him. Wilder looked like he didn't belong in the ring with him all 3 times. Chisora, who's not really a A-level fighter, but we'll say a strong B+. He's always remained in the top 10 rankings, found a way, not a true champion. Made him look all 3 times like he didn't belong in the ring with him. Who else? Oh, Dillian White, who had already beaten 5 top 10 fighters and multiple undefeated fighters. And made Dillian White, hold on. And made Dillian White look like he didn't belong in the ring with him.
You guys fell off.
No, he picked Dillian White to beat him. That's all I said.
Yeah. Tony,
and then hold on. Yeah. If you want to do the rematch thing, this is what I wanted to finish with. If you want to do the rematch thing, that Tyson Fury never gave Klitschko a rematch, well then I guess Lennox Lewis isn't legitimate either because he got his ass whooped by Vitali, got a doctor stoppage which they saved him. And he refused to do the rematch. So I guess he's not a legitimate champion either since rematches matter.
Can I not that way?
Hold on. Can I interject real quickly? Tony, you say that Usyk doesn't have no legitimate claim to the belts that he has right now, but yet you seem like you're trying to give Fury credit for something that he was responsible for, which he gave up his title for his own doing. So that's not Usyk's fault.
Yeah, that's
not Joshua's fault. When the belt, hold up. When he voluntarily gave up his title, we knew why he did that, because he knew he was going to get a ban. So he voluntarily gave up his belt so that way he could do a little bit of damage control in that situation rather than be stripped, because he was stripped, then it looked a lot worse. So the fact is, that's number one. Number two, you say that he did something that Muhammad Ali's never done, but Muhammad Ali came back and fought two dangerous heavyweights who were in the top 10. When after he beat Zara Foley, he beat Jerry Corey, and he beat Oscar Benavidez. So those guys arguably were better than the guys that Tyson Fury fought when he came back and beat. Far better. So, I mean, I get you some of your points, but you can't give Tyson Fury recognition for something that he did not want to do. Because he's going to get a drug ban. He refused to give the man the rematch that he was obligated to. So we can't give him a pass for that and put that blame on Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk. They came in and did what they had to do. They did something that Tyson Fury didn't want to do. It's continue to fight competition. And look, he did fight Wilder. We'll give him credit for that. He beat Dillian White. We'll give him credit for that. But we can't continue to give him passes and or Klitschko, obviously. We can't continue to give him passes and say, okay, that's it. He can do whatever he wants at that point. No, there's still other contenders out there that he has to fight. If he says he's the best in this era, he's got to fight Joe Joyce. He's got to fight Alexander Usyk. He's got to fight the Andrew Ruiz. He got to fight Julie Zhang, Bill Herkovich. He's got to fight those guys, or even Jarrett Anderson if he's still, when he's up, climbing up the rankings. If he doesn't fight those guys, we can't give him that recognition as the best.
No, it's not even that. I wouldn't even go that far. There's a lot of opinions I'd like to rebuttal. And the thing is this: if you beat Usyk at that point, he is the number one guy. Everyone seems to think I'm some sort of Fury fanboy. I seem to criticize the guy when he deserves criticism, but I'm not gonna start giving the guy. And same with AJ as well. I used to get called a cheerleader just because I'd give him more credit than guys like Wilder. But the thing is this: you got to keep it real. Look, the difference between him and Lennox was Lennox beat Klitschko when Vitali came in as a 2 weeks notice replacement for, I think it was Kirk Johnson. There was no obligated rematch clause. Lennox was the champion. He was the one defending the belt. So that is just a crazy comparison. Fury was the guy who was a mandatory challenger. I don't like that rule, but he accepted the rematch clause. He signed on the dotted line. And then when it came to the rematch, he decided to walk away. He didn't defend the belts. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. He didn't honor the, rematch clause. I think Glasgow was his mandatory, but I think Charles Martin, by the time he had won the belts, become his mandatory challenger. And then he decided to not honor that. And then I think the IBF ordered Glasgow and Martin fight for the vacant IBF belt. So they stripped him of that. Then he decides to postpone the rematch with Klitschko not once but twice. First time he blamed on an injury. All that happened. Like, what do we expect the division to do? Like, I do think he is the lineal champion because of how that criteria works. He was the man who beat the man, but he also hasn't beaten AJ. He hasn't fought Usyk. I don't think you could say he's the greatest. I do think he'll beat Usyk. That's just my opinion. But if he does, then we could say that. But up until then, a lot of people seem to give the guy a lot of passes and extra credit for things he hasn't done. And even if he doesn't fight guys like Joyce, but if he just beats Usyk, then at least at that point we could say he's an undisputed champion. He's won all the belts and held them all at the same time, even though I think he has technically won them all at different times. But that hasn't happened at the moment. And Usyk, I think, is in his right. If the fight is not in the UK, I think can argue for a bigger percentage. But if it's in the UK, I do think Usyk should concede. I will agree with that. That's my contention with Usyk. But regarding Fury, the division had to move on. You can't expect a guy who's sitting on the shelf who gets stripped of his belts. I didn't like the whole thing, fiasco with the whole Klitschko rematch and all that. But at that point, AJ did his best to try and clean up the mess. And at that point, I blame a lot of it on Wilder's team and Wilder and a bit on Eddie Hearn as well. But just because that fight didn't happen, at least AJ and Matchroom tried doing their best to clean up the division, because like when all those belts were with, what was it, Joseph Parker, Charles Martin, and I think there was another one as well I may have missed. Stavern, it was a mess. It was a mess, but at least we almost got that. We didn't get in the end, and that annoyed me. But I mean, the division moves on. This is not the same era as the Jack Dempsey era. Like, people seem to keep going back to that, but back then, I think there was only one belt. And
there was only one belt. Yeah, it was only one belt, and then you had one sanctioned body that came in, which I think was called the New York State Athletic Commission, and then the NBA came out, and then they eventually became the WBA. That was like years later. But yeah, keep going, man. I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's all I wanted to say. I do think I do think Fury will probably beat Usyk, but until that happens, it's a lot of speculation and people giving Fury extra credit. I would like Fury to win because he is obviously British, and this will be the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox. But people automatically saying he's the best of this era. Now, I think we could nitpick that argument as well. People seem to say Usyk beat AJ and seem to criticize his wins. Usyk cleaned up the cruiserweight division, even if that's a different division. He did it all on the road. Won all the belts. He left no doubt. He didn't not honor any rematch clauses like done what Fury did. Take a 3-year hiatus. He cleaned it, fought Bellew in the UK, defended his titles, done it the proper way, and then moved up to heavyweight. And I think in his second heavyweight fight, beat AJ and then beat him for a second time. And he unified all the belts. So at this point in time, we got to see these guys fight each other because we can't just give Fury credit because he has not actually beaten AJ or Usyk. Like for some reason, people seem to give the guy extra credit just because they think he will beat those guys or beat AJ or one or the other. But all he's done is come back and beaten Wilder. Yeah, he beat White, but Dillian White also got flattened by Povetkin. And I don't like Dillian White. I was happy he got knocked out, but he did get flattened by Povetkin first. And the same guy got knocked out by AJ as well, even if he went life and death. Those guys both knocked him out. So I think some people are giving Fury more credit. I give him credit for the first two Wilder fights. All right, I'll give him credit for the first two fights. If you want to give him credit for the third fight as well, because he was out of shape and he kind of had to come back from a lot of adversity. But he's beaten essentially one guy. Chisora, come on, I can't give him credit for that.
That Chisora fight that fight did not have to take place. But Tony, I wanted to ask you something, man. I agree with you that Usyk should take the lower split if such a fight should happen in the UK. I agree with you on that. But when I want to ask your opinion on this, should Usyk beat Tyson Fury? Should he? I'm getting a little step ahead of myself. Should Usyk demand a little clause stipulation in the contract? Should I beat you, Mr. Fury? I get to take the higher split in the rematch. What do you think?
I've said that before. Like, do the 60-40, the winner gets 60-40.
Okay, cool.
So I agree with that, but let me say this real fast. This is the issue that I have, and let me get to this point first before I forget it. The point wasn't who Ali came back and fought the two opponents. The point was when Ali went up against the man who was Joe Frazier, he came up short. Whenever Mike Tyson went up against the man who was Holyfield at the time, he came up short. When Tyson Fury went up against the man who was Deontay Wilder, because at that time it was an argument. Is Deontay Wilder the man or is it Anthony Joshua? A lot of people believed Wilder. A lot of people believed Joshua. I'm going to say hindsight's 20/20. And right now, looking at it, I think Wilder would have always beat the shit out of AJ because I don't think AJ has the chin or the heart or the desire to take them shots. I think he folds like a lawn chair, to be honest, because he's mentally weak. And whenever Wilder cracks that chin and he starts throwing them windmill punches at him, he's going to give the fuck up like he did against Ruiz. So hindsight's 20/20. I always believed AJ would win, but again, Eddie Hearn sold us a bill of goods that was supposed to be gold, and it turned out to be copper. That's all it is. So let me get back to the point. Now, Usyk, Tyson Fury needs to beat Usyk. He needs to beat Usyk. He needs to beat Usyk. Who the fuck is Usyk at the heavyweight division? He's only beaten 3 heavyweights.
That's who he is.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Cruiserweight champion, a pound for pound, all-time great.
Time out. Pause.
Well, go ahead.
Let me finish. This is Usyk's resume at heavyweight.
Tony, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm talking.
Hello?
You can't hear me? Can you not hear me?
Oh, my bad, man. Go ahead, man. Sorry. We lost you for a second.
Okay, so you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is Usyk's resume, if we're going to go off a resume.
Okay.
He beat Chaz Witherspoon in his first fight, who was a short notice fighter. The dude was literally selling hot dogs at a used car lot. Literally. And came into the fight.
Man, context, man.
No. Let me finish.
Let Tony finish, man.
Let me finish.
You get in after Tony.
You can sit back because you made a mistake. You said you believed Usyk fought AJ in the second fight. Incorrect. It was his third fight. The same guy that you shitted on Fury for fighting, Usyk fought Chisora. The difference is when Chisora fought Usyk, he beat Usyk the first 4 or 5 rounds. Arguably the first 5 rounds, Usyk lost to Chisora. But yet it's a problem when Tyson Fury beats him and whoops his ass for every fucking round of the fight. That's an issue. But when Usyk beats him, oh, he's a great heavyweight now. No, the fact of the matter is, all Usyk's ever done is beat AJ. AJ, the same guy who got his ass whooped against a short, fat Oompa Loompa, who fought a 40-year-old Pulev after that loss, and then got his ass whooped twice by a cruiserweight. Like I said, he looked like gold. He turned out to be copper. There's nobody. I know I don't believe in a triangle theory, but there's not one human being walking this earth that would ever make me believe that Andy Ruiz Jr. would stand a chance against Tyson Fury in the ring. There would be no chance. And that's the guy that beat AJ. Come the fuck on, like this dude.
Well,
yes,
go ahead, man.
Yes,
you want to respond to that?
Yes. Hold on. Yes, we would all like to. No, hold on. I'm not done. We would all
delay of the responses. I don't know what it is.
No, I'm not done. Hold on. Let me finish this.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Yeah, let me finish with this. We would all love to see an undisputed champion because we haven't had one since Lennox Lewis. That's the last time we've had it at the heavyweight division. We would all love to see undisputed. But the fact that Usyk, who was unproven at the heavyweight division, will define Tyson Fury's legacy is audacious to me.
Well, that's wait. That's Fury's own doing. He was the guy who did not defend those belts. Fury was the guy also who did not fight Anthony Joshua. That's a fact. A lot of opinions are coming from you who seem to leave out a lot of context. I am a Fury fan, but I got to keep it real. The thing is this. Usyk was a cruiserweight. The guy people are saying was a blown up cruiserweight. He came in. I said second fight because I didn't even count the Chaz Witherspoon fight. That was a tune up. That was a guy that I think came in as a late replacement after Tyrone Sponge pulled out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Tyrone Sponge pulled out, Carlos Takam pulled out. The guy was a late replacement. I remember a lot of channels were shitting on Usyk. I was one of the few that said Usyk will outbox Joshua and make him look silly. My only thing is, will they rob him or give him the decision? Because we see what happened to Golovkin with Canelo and Fury with Wilder, and I think there was other fights, Castado, Chalo, where when those type of fights happen, when it's remotely competitive, it ends in a draw. So I thought it'd end in a draw, although I thought Usyk would clearly win. When the fight happened, he won 8-9 rounds, maybe 10 the first fight. That was his second fight, I think, a heavyweight actual fight, because Chisora was a legitimate top 15. People seem to now talk about Fury beating Chisora in 2022 when Usyk beat him in 2020. But Fury had already beaten this guy twice and fought him. And triangle theories don't work. I do think Usyk and Fury need to fight because Fury has not beaten Joshua. If it was so easy, he would have done it. People also seem to always talk about the Ruiz fight, but they forget about what happened in the rematch. And essentially, that first fight was no different to what happened with Lennox and Hasim Rahman. But the difference was Lennox left no doubt in the rematch where Anthony Joshua did not look that great, although I thought he won 9-10 rounds clearly in that fight. But Usyk systematically beat the guy twice. In the first fight, he won 9, arguably 10 rounds. In the rematch, I think he won 8, maybe 9 rounds. And Usyk showed he's a superior boxer. He also, I thought, beat Chisora relatively comfortably. I thought he clearly won about 7, arguably 8. Some people had him winning 9 rounds. And if he's that easy, then Fury should be fighting him because he's talking about fighting Ngannou. He's just fought Chisora. I think they need to fight. Fury's legacy, in a way, maybe you could say he should not be defined by this fight, but the fight with Joshua didn't happen, I think, in 2021. He also didn't defend those belts, so he didn't have because of his own wrongdoing, he didn't have the chance to unify with Wilder back then. So that's all on him. We can't give the guy passes or to keep defending the guy because he's also the guy who's responsible for not fighting between 15, 16 to all the way to 2018. If he had fought back then, he may have become undisputed champion, but because of his own doing, because he didn't defend the belts and failed whatever drug test, which actually did fail for Nandrolone, that's all on him. Whether or not it was his fault or not, whatever, you could say that for other guys as well, but just because Usyk has had 2 or 3 fights, the guy's a cruiserweight and he's already embarrassing all these guys, and he's the guy who's willing to fight anyone, anywhere and everywhere. But you can't compare Chisora fighting Usyk to Fury. Like the triangle theories don't work. So I think it's just context matters, and it's ridiculous. Like those arguments, people bring up. But I do think they need to fight. I would favor Fury slightly because I think size matters, and I think he is a guy who could actually box for very well for him. And I think politics will matter in the end as well. I think with top rank involved, and if it's in the UK, I can't see Usyk getting a decision, but we'll see what happens, man. But you gotta like make actual arguments with context. So you can't leave stuff.
You're not making any arguments with any context, because the context that you put out there that Chaz Witherspoon was a late replacement is irrelevant to the fact of what I said, which is a fact. He had 2 weeks notice, and he was literally selling hot dogs at a used car lot. Literally. Hold on. Go ahead. Like you could say all the context you want, and then you say that Andrew Long for Tyson Fury, but you leave out the fact that he won the court case over cash.
Hold on. I gotta stop you, Tony. Hold on.
Let me finish. Over castrated.
Go ahead, finish up, because I gotta respond to that. Go ahead.
Over castrated boar meat. We could all say that's bullshit. We could all say we don't believe that shit, just like I don't believe Conor Ben was eating eggs. But the fact of the matter is, he won the court case. He was clear. What he got stripped for was cocaine. What he got stripped for was saying stuff against the LGBT community, and lost his, I believe it was IBF belt that they took for him because of some comments he made about gay people. So that's what he actually got stripped for. Again, I will say this. You cannot say Chisora is not a good fighter, that Fury should not have fought him, and then give Usyk all the credit in the world for beating that same fighter. The fact of the matter is, hold on, I'm not done.
I don't care, but I never give him. I didn't give him credit.
I'm quiet while you're talking.
Hold on, guys. Hamed, let Tony finish up.
But you can't put words in people's. But I did not give him credit.
Oh my gosh, you don't want me talking while you're talking.
Okay, but go ahead. Okay, yes, fine. Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Finish up, man. Finish up.
Just don't make things up.
So no. You don't make things up. You've done it a lot. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you, Tony.
You cannot hear me,
Tony.
Yes.
You there?
I don't know why I keep going out.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I don't know why it's going out for you, but on my end it says I'm still talking. So anyways, I'm not making stuff up. You don't like it when I talk in your part, which I've been quiet, so don't talk when I'm talking. Respect. The fact of the matter is, Usyk has done nothing at the heavyweight division but beat one guy, Anthony Joshua. That's it. Now, it's going to be mighty funny, and I hope it doesn't happen because I like AJ. But it's going to be mighty funny if Jermaine Franklin beats the living fuck out of him. Then that win of Usyk is going to look even lesser than, because now he keeps getting beat by these guys who are A-level fighters. Now, to say this, you said you made a prediction about, oh, well, I thought Usyk was going to win the fight, but I was scared that they were going to rob him and it'd be a draw. Well, here's the problem with that, my dude. I stated on video, on my playlist, the receipts are there, that Usyk would beat AJ so bad that they could not rob him. It wouldn't even look competitive, that he would outclass him. And that's what he did both times. And I was right. I wasn't scared of a draw. I wasn't scared of a robbery because I knew exactly what was going to happen to AJ, because AJ ain't been the same since he lost to Andy Ruiz. It's evident in his fights. He's no longer a seek and destroy. He's no longer a tank. The AJ that Usyk beat is not the same guy that Ruiz beat in the first fight. It's not the same guy. He's not dead. That's not the same guy. So again, I have to come back to this point. It amazes me, if you take Undisputed off the table, it amazes me that Tyson Fury has beat all these supposed killers and made it look easy, but yet his legacy is based on a guy at the heavyweight division who has done nothing but beat one fighter.
Can I just say, man, these arguments are so like this is the last thing I gotta go by. There's no point arguing. This is all I'll say. A guy beat nobody. Wilder. If we're gonna talk about Fury's biggest wins, let's look at it. Wilder. Who has he beaten? Pretty much nobody. He didn't. Even Luis Ortiz. I mean, we go to Luis Ortiz. Who has he beaten? So I think Wilder. We could literally
beat Charles Martin.
Wait.
Same guy that
let me finish. We could nitpick all these guys' resumes. The thing is this: I did not give even Usyk that much credit for beating Chisora. The thing was, that was the first legitimate heavyweight, top 20, top 15 he beat. I thought he beat him, and that was just a fight to keep him active because he had been so inactive. People keep saying that he has done nothing, but if AJ was that easy or that bad, Fury would have beaten AJ, fought him, and beaten him. He hasn't done that. Can't give Fury credit for something he hasn't done, or Walden didn't do. Walden didn't unify any belts. If you're going to talk about someone who hasn't done anything, that's Wilder. He pretty much has not unified any belts. He has beaten pretty much nobody outside, if we're going to be real, Luis Ortiz. And even Luis Ortiz, I don't think is really that good. If you look at his resume, probably his best win is Brian Jennings. Charles Martin is bloody atrocious. I wouldn't even say that's one of AJ's top wins. And I think AJ, if we're gonna start criticizing him, he didn't knock out Klitschko. He didn't knock out guys like Povetkin. He beat Ruiz. If Ruiz damaged him that badly, how come Ruiz couldn't do anything pretty much in the rematch? And people keep bringing up the guy was out to shoot. Well, that's his own fault. AJ was, to me, looked like he was gonna get knocked out at one point. If that's what was gonna happen in the rematch, Ruiz should have done it, but he couldn't do it because I think AJ is the better boxer of the two guys. And when they fought, I think AJ won 9-10 rounds. The thing is with this fight, I think Usyk and Fury need to fight because we still don't know who actually is the number one guy. And
Yeah.
Usyk's resume trumps Wilder's resume. If we're going to talk about Wilder's done this and that, Wilder's claim to fame is beaten Ortiz and a draw with Fury, which I think a lot of people thought he lost. That's all he's got on his resume. Usyk has got 2 wins over AJ, and he's not even a career heavyweight. The guy has cleaned out the cruiserweight division, and he's fighting in the second division. I still think Fury will beat him eventually if they do fight. That's my opinion. It may be a closer fight. And if we're going to talk about predictions, you picked Dilla White to beat bloody Tyson Fury. So don't even get me started. I picked Usyk to beat. I picked Usyk to beat AJ twice. I just thought they're going to rob him in the first fight because of what's been going on in boxing. What happened with Golovkin, Canelo, the Adley Bird scorecard. What happened with CJ Ross and the whole Floyd Mayweather, Canelo scorecard. That was my contention. I just don't trust boxing judges. And even in the second fight, they almost pretty much robbed him. Don Trella or whatever the guy's name
It was
was. I
Glenn
think
Pellman. Yeah,
Glenn
he almost.
Feldman, who had it for thing, who had it for AJ somehow. I don't think AJ won more than 4 rounds in that rematch. If you want to be generous, maybe you could give him 5 if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But the thing is this: if they do fight, then at least we got a unanimous decision on who's actually the best heavyweight. Because people seem to give Fury extra credit or more credit for just beating one guy, Deontay Wilder. Since the Klitschko fight, all he's done is beaten Wilder, which was a good win. But that's the only guy because Dylan White is the same guy that Povetkin knocked out and AJ. And we can't give all of a sudden Fury more credit for something that's already been done. Chisora, I did not even give Usyk much credit. I was just saying Fury should not have fought Chisora because he had already fought him twice before Usyk beat him and he had stopped him and beat him indecisively. Usyk was getting criticized a lot for that fight, especially how competitive that fight was early on. But Usyk did win that fight, and since then has actually beaten better guys because AJ was a better win than Chisora. So I think some people are going a bit over the top one way or the other. I just think they need to fight. Usyk should concede his split because I don't think he deserves 50-50 if he's in the UK. But I gotta go, man. I
All
think
right.
if they do fight, I'll try and jump back on because I do think I would probably favor Fury to win that fight. Although a lot of people seem to think Usyk will beat him easily. I don't
I
know. I
think
think it's a.
Usyk. I'm probably in the minority. I got Usyk winning that fight.
I
So
mean, I could be wrong. It could turn out to be a close fight that could be ended a draw, go the other way
yeah.
to Usyk as well. Because Usyk, I think, could make him look silly. I just think Fury's size and I think Top Rank will make sure that the judges will favor Fury. I just got a feeling, but Fury does not seem to be as confident as his fans are because Fury seems to want to fight other guys. If he fights Joyce, to me, that's a duck. I don't know at that point how you could say it's not a duck because unless Usyk is demanding 50-50 and is
He is.
what's the
He
word?
is. He is
Uh,
demanding
outpriced
50-50.
himself. Yeah. Yeah, if he's demanding 50-50 and he's outpriced himself, then I mean you could criticize Usyk as well. But say if Fury's the one who starts putting these deadlines on or starts saying that he wants to fight Joyce, then I think Fury's the one who's ducked the fight. But we'll
Well,
see
I
what
would say
happens.
this though, real quickly though. I would say this, and I have to. I always hold people to their words. You say Tyson Fury, he says that it's all about legacy, not about the money. But why is it when it comes to Usyk, it's all about the money and not about the legacy?
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean
it?
that's another
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's
Which is it? Yeah. Is it either about the money or is it about the legacy? You can say, well, he was bullshit. He's always about the money. I was like, yeah, but why does he admit that? Why don't he just admit that? If you admit that, then we wouldn't have really had much of this conversation. But yeah, he keeps saying it's about the legacy when it comes to certain fighters. But when it comes to certain fighters that he probably doesn't feel confident beating, like Usyk, then it's all about the money. So yeah, this is where we got to call him out on that. And I wanted to touch upon real quickly, Tony. You mentioned that Tyson Fury was exonerated from the UCAD investigation for the board meet. Well, as I recall, he accepted responsibility for what happened. What he said is that he testified that, well, basically, I had an Angelo in my system because I consumed wild boar meat from a farmer, which we heard that story was concocted because that farmer was paid off a bribe to say that. So, so I don't see how he was found not guilty in that situation. He accepted responsibility, which is why they retroacted his ban. So, unless I may have missed something there, unless you could show me something where he said that he was innocent, then please show it to me, because he didn't claim innocence in that situation. All he did was accept the responsibility.
No. He took responsibility of eating boar meat. He won the court case because the farmer, I don't know his name, Farmer Joe. He came in there.
Mark Fairfoot.
He went in there and testified that he sold him the uncastrated boar meat, and that's why he popped hot. That's all he admitted to. He never admitted to actually taking the substance. He admitted to eating boar meat. He won the court case. The farmer came back years later, 2 years ago, and tried to sue Tyson Fury and claimed that he was supposed to get paid, never got paid, and now he wants to take him to court. And then that shit got laughed out of court. He didn't even have a legitimate foot to step on.
Wait, hold up. In that situation, then why did Tyson Fury vacate his license? Because when that story came up, he gave up his British license. You know why? Because he knew if he gave it up, they can't investigate him for that.
No, he had a case.
So that's why he gave it up.
No.
Go ahead.
He had a case with. I gotta go in a minute.
It was cocaine.
No. He had a court case with UCAD. I think it was UCAD, but they dropped the charges or something because I think he tried suing UCAD. I think it was UCAD or the BBC, British Boxing Board of Control.
It was UCAD, I think.
All right, it was a UCAD because it was a long court case and that whole thing got a bit messy. But because they didn't want to get bankrupt, I think they dropped it. I do believe that Fury got banned as well, though. So to me, it seems like Fury did, but this was for the Christian Hammer fight. I wasn't even talking about. My whole point was just the fact that he didn't honor the rematch clause and he wasn't willing to defend those titles because he kept pulling out as well. He said he was injured first time. Then he said, I think he failed test for cocaine or something, and then it was the nandrolone situation. To me, it seemed like there was one story after another, and it was either Fury had got to a point where he lost motivation, or just his momentum was gone, and he felt like the Klitschko rematch was going to be a tougher fight. But that fight, he failed the drug test, was actually for the Christian Hammer fight. So whether or not he cheated for the Klitschko fight, I mean, it is actually quite debatable or subjective. That's not the point. I think he would have beaten Klitschko with or without the PEDs. That's not my contention. The thing was just how Fury acted after that fight. But I do believe, before I go, I do believe there was a court case with UCAD, and I think UCAD kind of messed it up. But UCAD also had a court case with, I think it was Dillian White, and we've seen what happened with that whole situation. But I gotta go. It was good talking to you guys. All
right, man. Take care, man.
All right, take care, man.
Peace.
So,
go ahead, Tony. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, to the dude who said it was 2 years suspension. Yes, like Dad said, it was retroactive, which means he didn't get in trouble, which means he came from his long journey away from boxing, and they just used that time away to say, okay, this is the time that we suspended you for. So he was never punished. He was never suspended. He just took a break. They counted the break that he took as the boar meat. But he never admitted to taking steroids. He admitted to eating boar meat, period. That's it. And he never got in trouble for it.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I guess part of the reconciliation, as you want to call it, part of the deal, or part of the compromise, is that he had to take some form of liability, which he did. So that's why he's never been brought up and into light ever since that happened. So he did accept some form of responsibility, which they did give him a compromise. Okay, we'll retroactive your ban because you've been out of the ring for quite some time. We'll take that into account, and that's it. And then he reinstated his license at the time. So yeah, he accepted some form of responsibility. So in other words, he was. I'm not saying he was fully guilty, but he did accept some form of responsibility. As if you were guilty, but in other words, he's like, well, I was a little bit negligent in that situation. Okay, we can't prove that he knew he took it, not only took it, but he did accept some form of responsibility. So yeah, if you look at it one way or the other, that is some form of guilt if you accept some type of compromise like that. So that's all I wanted to bring up, man. But at the end of the day, like me, when Hamed says, thanks, man. Yeah, good. Anytime, Hamed. Anytime, man. Like I said, and Hamed says, Fury's just got to stop playing politics, man. He's got to take the fight. If he doesn't fight Usyk, yes, he has every right to fight whoever he wants. But at the end of the day, you can't call yourself the greatest heavyweight in this era if you don't fight the guy who's actually a pound for pound great, who cleaned out one division, something Tyson Fury's never done, who's the undisputed champion, something Tyson Fury's never done, who also won a unified title in his third fight in a different weight class, which is a heavyweight, something that Tyson Fury's never done. Never won a unified title in accelerated pace. So you have to fight him to prove to us that you are that man. If you don't fight him and you don't fight him, then we can't call you that. That's just the whole point. We can't call you the greatest heavyweight.
Let me give you an example, Dan. It's like right now.
Okay.
Devin Haney, right?
Yeah.
He had the easy way to undisputed. He beat one fighter to become undisputed, okay? He beat Kambosos. That's it. We don't know how good or bad Devin Haney is. We don't know if he could beat Shakur. We don't know if he could beat Ryan Garcia. We don't know if he could beat Tank Davis, the other top guys, because he hasn't fought them. Just because he's got the easy route to undisputed, meaning he didn't collect the belts one by one,
right,
doesn't mean he's the greatest guy out there until he beats them. The fact is, and this is my whole point, Tyson Fury could go on to beat Joe Joyce. That's a great win. He could go on to, I don't know, fight a Daniel Dubois, or if Jermaine Franklin manages the miracle and beats AJ, fight Jermaine Franklin. He could fight Ruiz. There's a lot of other guys he could beat that are very good wins. The fact is, if you were to ask me, Tony, does Usyk beat Andy Ruiz Jr.? I don't know. Tony, does Usyk beat Deontay Wilder? I think Deontay Wilder knocks him the fuck out personally. Tony, can Usyk beat Joe Joyce? I highly doubt it, because he struggled with Joe Joyce when Joe Joyce was only 190 pounds. Now he's 270 pounds with just as good of a gas tank and a better chin. So there's a lot of fighters that I don't even know if Usyk could beat. So to claim that he's this great heavyweight and Tyson Fury's legacy relies on a guy who's only got one legitimate good win in the division is just, again, it's audacious to me. It's ridiculous. Yes, he's got 3 out of the 4 titles, but whether Tyson Fury beats him or not doesn't really seal the deal for his legacy, because Usyk can lose in his very next fight against somebody else if Fury doesn't fight him. Well, how good was Usyk if he gets his ass whooped by Joe Joyce? How good was Usyk if Deontay Wilder knocks him the fuck out? How good is Usyk if Jermaine Franklin beats him? How good is Usyk? You know what I'm saying? We can do this all day. We don't even know how good he is in the division. We just know he beat AJ.
Okay, well, fair enough. But I will say this about the Devin Haney comparison. First things first, Devin Haney didn't have a stellar record at a weight class before, which was at, he only fought one weight class so far, so he never has a record of cleaning out a division like Usyk is. That's number one. Number two, he doesn't have any wins that are considered top-notch or high caliber, like a Gassiev, like a Briedis, like a Michael Hunter, like a Kawaki at the time when he was undefeated, like a Huck, like a Divisa Machuno. I could go on and on and on. So that comparison kind of a little falls flat on that, and that's number one. Number two, yes, I do agree. We don't know if Usyk can actually beat Joe Joyce at this stage of career. We don't know that yet for sure. But at the end of the day, he is a major player at the heavyweight division. We cannot dismiss that. Just because he's a cruiserweight, he's only had, 4 fights at heavyweight. We can't just dismiss him, say, oh, he's not going to beat these guys. Because we said that about Joshua when he first fought him, and look what happened. He beat him. He dominated him in the first fight, and he schooled him in the second fight. So that's another thing. Number two is, I recall Evander Holyfield, when he cleaned out cruiserweight, when he moved up to heavyweight, immediately people were calling for him to fight, for Mike Tyson to fight him. And for years, I remember this argument as a kid. I remember the Tyson fanboys were saying, well, Evander Holyfield ain't done nothing. Why does he deserve that fight? Yada, 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 this, that, and the third. I'm like, well, okay, if he's such easy work, I mean, as a kid, it's hard for me to understand this. But looking back at that now in hindsight, if Mike Tyson was going to blow through Evander Holyfield back then in the 80s, why did he wait 4 years to fight him? Why did he wait 4 years? Why did he stall on that fight? Okay. You see, this is why I worry about Tyson Fury, because back then they were supposed to fight when they were undefeated. They both signed contracts to fight, take interim fights before they fought each other. And look what happened. Holyfield beat Michael Dokes, which he was supposed to do. And Mike Tyson was supposed to get past Buster Douglas. That didn't happen. So because of that, we didn't get the fight till 6 years later. And Tyson was pretty much done at that point. So my thing is that we can't continue to dismiss fighters who are great in their previous weight classes. They do something spectacular in their third or fourth fight in a different weight class. We can't just dismiss them and say, oh, they're not worthy an opponent. Beat him, it won't mean much, this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, well, in that case, if he's so easy, then you got to prove it. Prove it to us. He's got the guys with the belts. And yes, on paper, he is the lineal champion, but whether we like it or not, you can dispute that. That's fine. But to settle that dispute, you got to fight him and beat him. He's got the belts. Beat him, get the credit, and that's it. Because right now, Usyk is rated right now in most people's eyes as an all-time great, whether he loses or not in his next fight. So,
right. But I got
point, yeah. But again, my point is that fighting Usyk, to me, if Tyson Fury loses to him, that's better than fighting anyone else like Joe Joyce at the moment. Because if he loses to Joyce, then that was a cherry pick that went wrong. That's a cherry pick that went wrong because. Again, I repeat myself. Fighting Usyk right now, losing to him will be a lot better than losing to anyone else at this point. That's all I got to say. But go ahead, man.
I agree with you that Usyk's already an ATG. But the thing is, so is Tyson Fury. And that's my whole point. My whole point is he's already an ATG. Tyson Fury has done something that no heavyweight in the history of boxing has done. He walked away from the sport for 3 years, beat the #1 guy. Not only did he do that, but he's also beat 2 long reigning champions, which no heavyweight in history has ever done. He beat Klitschko, who was on a 10-year reign. He beat Deontay Wilder, who was on a 10-fight streak, when even though it should have been like 7-fight streak because he lost that first fight to Fury. But regardless, he beat 2 long reigning champions, which I don't know if you can find anybody in the history of boxing that's ever done that at heavyweight.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of guys who've done it. Ezra Charles did it when he went up and fought Joe Louis. He did it.
Stop. Pause.
Yeah,
pause.
Hold up.
Wait. Hold on. He beat Joe Louis. Hold on. Before you move on, he beat Joe Louis, who was a long reigning champion that at heavyweight that he beat after Joe Louis.
After that, Ezra Charles. Oh, after that, he lost his titles to Jersey Joe Wilcott after he had like 2 or 3 other successful title defenses after he beat Lewis. So,
right, that's my point. Listen to what I said, Dan. That's my point. Tyson Fury beat 2 long reigning champions. 2, not 1, but 2. That has never been done.
Never been done. You sure? I'm telling you, Ezra Charles did that, and before that. Harry Greb did it 2 times. He beat George Carpentier, and he also beat, who else he beat? I think Mickey Walker. So he did that. Harry Greb did that a long time ago as well. So that's the only one.
What was the win streak of the first guy he beat, and what was the win streak of the second
Mickey Walker was on a 20 fight win streak from my recollection. And Joe Louis, I think he was a long range champion. I think he was on a 7-8 fight win streak with Ezra Charles fought.
Yeah, no, that's not 10 plus wins.
But don't matter. The point is they were long range champions.
No.
Come on, man, can't make the goalposts, brother.
Hold on. No, Dan. Long reigning in boxing matters after 10 title defenses. 10 title defenses is what you're really considered a long reigning champion.
Well, Mickey Walker had that when Harry Greb fought him. So what do you mean?
You just said 7 or 8.
No, that was Joe Louis. I'm talking about Mickey Walker when he fought Harry Greb fought him.
Right, 20 plus defenses. However, the problem is he didn't do it a second time.
Neither did Wilder.
No, I'm not talking about Wilder. Wilder didn't do it a second time. Tyson Fury did. He stopped Wilder. He stopped Klitschko. You have to find a fighter at the heavyweight division.
I'll point at him, but go ahead.
He stopped his reign.
Okay. He stopped his reign, and
So
I'm telling
listen
you,
to what I'm
Harry
telling
Greb
you,
did the
man.
same thing with Mickey Walker, and Ezra Charles did the same thing with Joe Louis. So it has
No,
been done before.
you're not
Tyson Fury's not the
listening.
only one, brother.
You're
He's
not
not the only
listening.
one.
You're not.
Go
You're
ahead.
not. You're not listening. You're not listening. You hear me, but you're not listening.
All right. Go ahead.
Klitschko dominated the division for 10 years straight. Tyson Fury stopped that. Wilder had 10 title defenses straight. Tyson Fury stopped that. You have to fight a heavyweight champion, or he didn't have to be a champion at the time, that beat a heavyweight champion with 10 or more wins in a row, and then that same guy has to beat another guy at his division, heavyweight, with 10 or more wins in a row.
Well, Klitschko never done that since you're on that subject.
You're not listening. I didn't say Klitschko did. I said Tyson Fury did. He's the only one.
Yeah, you said he's beaten a guy who's had 10 or more title defenses in Deontay Wilder and Klitschko, right? I'm saying that Greb did that to Mickey Walker. He did that to George Carpentier. That's the one you missed out on. He did that to those guys twice. All right. So he was the first one to do it back at, way before, right after Reconstruction era. Ezra Charles, yes, I'll go back. He did it once, and that was Joe Louis. All right. So I'll give you a little bit of credit there. But the fact is that Tyson Fury is not the only fighter who's done that. Harry Greb did it. So
how many losses? How many losses does Harry have?
Harry has about how many losses? I think 17.
And how many losses does Tyson Fury have?
None. But you compare apples to oranges here. First things
first.
I'm
not. I'm comparing. What I'm saying is
Harry Greb fought many
is
Hall of Famers during his fight win streak. It's not like he took a bum fight here and there, but the fact is he was consistent to fight people. In 1 year, he was like 42-0.
Okay,
and those fights were most of those Hall of Fame fights. You can't compare the two.
But Dan, you can't say that these guys from the going all the way back, you can't be like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Well, yeah, but it is what it is.
Hold on, let me finish. You can't use the fact that they beat Hall of Famers. You can't use that because the problem is they're in a current era where they're still fighting. So 30, 40, 50 years ago, we don't know who's going to be a Hall of Famer that Tyson Fury beat because they're still actively fighting. You don't become a Hall of Famer till your career is over. So Klitschko is a Hall of Famer. We don't know. Chisora may be a Hall of Famer. Deontay Wilder may be a Hall of Famer. These Hall of Famers that he may or may not have beat are going to start stacking up as the time goes on. So it's really not relevant how many Hall of Famers the guy beat when you have a guy who's fighting currently, who's the guys he's beat haven't had the opportunity to become Hall of Famers.
Well, 2 points. George Carpentier and Mickey Walker already had Hall of Fame wins before Greb fought them. That's number one. And number two, the key word is active. Harry Greb was active during his era. Active all the time. He fought more than 40 times in 1 year. And I already pointed that out already. Hell, there was guys that fought more than that. And that's another thing. And number three, Tyson Fury hasn't even come fraction to that. And that's his problem's activity. He's not as active enough. Yes, we're not talking about the activity like it was back in the day. I do agree with you on that. But at least get 2 or 3 fights in, and at least 3 fights in a year. And you need to fight some top caliber opponents. And he's not doing that now. Ever since the Wilder fight, yes, he got Dillian White. I give him that. But since then, Chisora, no one wanted that fight. No one asked for that. Now it seems like he's trying to swerve the Usyk fight and trying to fight someone else's
Dan.
Yeah, Joe Joyce. But the point is, you cannot compare apples to oranges with Harry Greb and Tyson Fury. There's no way you can't do that.
Dan.
All right, go ahead.
Why did we get the Chisora fight? Why?
I don't know. You tell me. No one asked for it, but go ahead.
Because Usyk didn't want to fight him. That's the whole reason why. What I'm talking about is they were supposed to fight in December, and Usyk said, "Oh, I need to spend time with my family. Oh, yeah, I've got an injury."
They never agreed to a fight in December. There was no talks about that fight in December.
There was a talk about it.
When?
There was contracts. You have to go back and look on Google. They were trying to set up the fight with Usyk in December. It was Usyk that came out and said he did not want to fight Tyson Fury in December, that he would fight him next year.
Back in June of that year, was actually July of last year, they were in talks with Jarrett for the fight. So how could they be talking to Jarrett and Alexander Usyk at the same time when Usyk was already getting prepared for Anthony Joshua? There was no fight for them to still talk for them fight December. Where'd that happen?
So after Usyk beat Anthony Joshua for the second time, that's when they started to offer fights to Usyk for December. There are literally articles of Usyk saying that he did not want to fight in December, that he needed to spend time with his family, plus he had some unknown, undocumented injury. So he would not fight. Hold on. So he would not fight Tyson Fury until next year, which is this year. At the time, it was next year. Now, the next person that Tyson Fury went to fight was Anthony Joshua. They sent Anthony Joshua a contract. AJ got on live. I believe it was Instagram Live. Maybe it was Twitter. I don't know. He did a live. And he said, oh, I've got the contract. It's with my lawyers. Of course I'm going to sign it. Of course I'm going to sign it. He did not sign it.
I give you credit on that one. But go ahead.
So because who you claiming to be the duck, Tyson Fury, because Usyk already ducked out of the fight in December. Then AJ turned around and ducked out of the fight in December. He fought Chisora because that was the only other option left.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. So if that was the case, then why did Tyson Fury after the Chisora rematch says I need to take some time off to heal an elbow injury? Why wasn't that disclosed? If you were trying to fight Usyk in December, why all of a sudden now? Then all of a sudden after the Chisora fight, I got a lingering elbow injury. I need to take time off. What was the point of that? What was the point of you fighting Chisora if that was the case? That's number one. Number two, again, there was no talks about them fighting in December after Usyk beat Joshua. There was no talks about that. The only reason why Tyson Fury jumped on that is because when there was mentioning of December, he said, no, I am not going to be ready by then. I'll be ready in March, or February, whatever. Okay, cool. But all of a sudden, that Usyk says he's ready. Why is Tyson Fury and his team moving the goalposts all of a sudden? Why did they reject the Saudi deal? No excuse for that. Why did they reject it? Usyk was the one. Usyk was the one who signed on to that deal over a month ago. It was Tyson Fury the one who didn't sign on the contract, and now all of a sudden he rejects the offer.
Well, but here's the thing, Dan.
Yeah.
Usyk agreed to an amount that we don't know. See, the thing about this is this Saudi deal was unlike any other boxing contract I've ever heard of. They did two different deals. One with the Usyk. So that means Frank Warren, Bob Arum, Tyson Fury have no fucking idea how much money the Saudis were going to pay Usyk. But whatever that amount was, that unicorn, he accepted it. Okay? Now, the Saudis then sent an offer, a dollar amount to Tyson Fury. He didn't like it. They tried to leverage it, and they said, no, we're not going to pay you that much. That's why it didn't happen. Now, for all we know, Dan, the Saudis could have told Usyk, we're going to pay you $120 million. Then they could have told Tyson Fury, we're only going to pay you $10 million. We don't know. We don't know what Usyk agreed to. We don't know what Tyson Fury did not agree to. All we do know is Tyson Fury's dad, John Fury, said they weren't trying to pay us. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means that they offered Tyson Fury $100 million and he was like, no, I want more than AJ. You're going to pay me $500 million. We don't know. We don't know. So to use that, we don't know. But what we do know right now is Usyk's manager said they will not accept the fight unless it's 50-50, period. There's no getting around it. Either it's 50-50 or we're not going to fight him. So that's what we do know.
Because we all remember what happened the last time when the Furies tried to deal with the Saudis in, with the Joshua fight. And we saw what happened to that, where they jerked them around for over a year. You think the Saudis forgot about that? You think they're that stupid just to give you this money without no strings attached? Yeah.
No. I'm not blaming. No. What I'm saying is I'm not blaming the Saudis for anything. I don't care if they offer Tyson Fury $1 or $1 billion. What I'm saying is we don't know why Usyk accepted it, and we don't know why Tyson Fury denied it. We don't know because we can't see the money they were offered. All we do know is it was two separate contracts, one that Usyk liked, one that Tyson Fury did not. We don't know. Like I said, Tyson Fury could have ducked Usyk. They could have said, Tyson Fury, we're going to pay you $150 million. And he was like, that's not enough. I need more. Well, that's a duck because it's not worth more than that. Or they could have said, Tyson Fury, we're only going to give you $5 million. And Tyson Fury was like, fuck you. I'm worth more than $5 million. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Big Boys in the chat. He says that Fury's the reason why they didn't take the deal because they wanted twice as much as Joshua got in the RUIZ rematch, which was $75 million. And first things first, and I'm going to say this once, and I said this once and I'll say it again. Yes, I'm not a big Anthony Joshua fan, but Tyson Fury does not have that commercial value or appeal as Anthony Joshua. That's a fact. Now he may not like that, but that's the ugly truth, in his eyes. So if he really believes that he deserves doubles what Joshua got, then he must be smoking. I'm not even going to say that, but the fact is that he really believes that he deserves twice as much as AJ got when he fought Ruiz in the rematch. Nah, he must be smoking. Really, really.
Oh, I agree
So,
with you.
yeah, he must be smoking. So that right there is no excuse for why he's avoiding that fight. He's probably, from that right there, there's an indication that the Saudis were giving him that much or slightly a little bit more, but he wanted a double that, which is bull crap. Bull crap. This is why it goes back to my point. If it was so much about legacy, then why all of a sudden now it's about money? Is it either about the money or is it about the legacy? Be honest about it.
Well, the thing about it is you can't take anything he says for anything. It's not worth a grain of salt because the dude will say he's all about legacy, but then he'll say, well, the trinkets of boxing don't mean nothing to me. These belts, they don't mean nothing. They don't mean nothing. Being lineal don't mean nothing. He'll say, I don't care about the money, but then yet he'll be like, oh, I need 60% in a fight. The dude, he literally contradicts himself with every other sentence that he speaks. Like, he'll say one thing, the very next sentence is the exact opposite of what he just said. And then he forgets what he says and he contradicts his contradictions. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he sniffed his brain away. The dude, he can fight great, but I don't know. He just contradicts himself. Like I said, I want to see Tyson Fury lose. I don't like him. I do not like him. I don't like how dirty he fought Deontay Wilder with all the headlocks, the choking, the laying on him. I don't like the dirty tactics, but I can't tell you. But what I do know is I don't believe Usyk deserves 50%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, if it goes to the UK, yes, arguably Usyk doesn't deserve the 50%. That's fine. What I'm saying is that what he should ask for in a clause in the contract, should I beat you, Mr. Fury, that I get to higher split at the rematch. Like he agreed with Deontay Wilder to do, same thing with Anthony Joshua, if they were to fight back in December of last year. But the fact is that I think he's the one that's solid. He's the one I don't think wants to fight right now. I think he's waiting for some reason. He's waiting for Usyk to slow down, and he's waiting for a perfect time to fight him, in a way where he believes he could beat him. So that's just my opinion on it, man. But I want to go ahead and close this down. Do you have any last words, man?
Nah, man. Just appreciate you letting me on and, doing a controversial thing and going back and forth.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. We always got, on my channel, I always welcome every voice of opinion, man. So as long as we keep it respectful, I really appreciate it. It's all good, man. It's great to have you on as always. All right.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too, man. Peace. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Shout out to the big boy. So in the chat, he says, no matter what the Saudis offer Fury, he'll take a pay cut and fight at Wembley, even if he gets 60%, which the same sense is about half the money now. It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. So that's why it doesn't make sense for why he rejected that offer. Makes no sense whatsoever, and it's no excuse for that. So I mean, the only reason why he rejected it because he's trying to make it look like that he really wants to fight. In actuality, he doesn't want it. He could say, well, Usyk didn't want to fight in Wembley. So the reason why I rejected the Saudi offer because I wanted to bring the fight to the people. Really? If that was the case, then why did you negotiate with the Saudis in the first place? So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Shout out to big boys in the chat. Everybody else, Olaf. Sorry about that, guys. My laptop went out. All right, big boys. Peace out, guys. Yeah, like I said, Tyson Fury is scared of the middleweight. Yeah. Shout out to all of the mighty, the boxing learner, Mr. Quick, Hamed, Tony Reviews. And yeah, that's about it, man. Other than that, Ralph on Real, who's here momentarily. So shout out to you guys. So other than that, I'm out. Peace.